Chapter 627 Resolution of the Heavenly Tao. Submission of a Pseudo-Sage. Chapter 627 Resolution of the Heavenly Tao. Submission of a Pseudo-Sage. Feng Liang slowly stood up and bowed to Han Ju, calling him Grandmaster. Han Ju came in front of him and asked, "You still acknowledge me?" Feng Liang said, "I'll acknowledge you forever. If not for you, I wouldn't be here today." In Feng Liang's heart, Grandmaster's kindness is the greatest. Han Ju asked, "Then can you tell me why you want to rope in other sages?" Feng Liang was silent. Han Ju said, "The battle of the sages has nothing to do with me. However, if it affects the heavenly Tao, I will also help. I want to cultivate in peace. The heavenly Tao can protect me from being disturbed." Feng Liang sighed. "What I'm doing is precisely to support the heavenly Tao. Grandmaster, you should already know. These sages are actually puppets with the deity realm of the ruins of End controlling them. If we can't sever karma, the heavenly Tao will always be the puppets of the deity realm of the ruins of End. I want the heavenly Tao to escape its shackles. This is also the Tao ancestors' will." With that said, Feng Liang's eyes became firm. He had changed after becoming the heavenly emperor. The reason why he changed was that he had no choice. He felt the same as the previous heavenly emperor. Even if he stood at the peak of the immortals, he was still a puppet in the hands of the sages. Many times they wanted to do something for the heavenly Tao, but when it involved their benefits, they had no choice but to give up. This feeling was of extreme grievance. Han Ju asked, "The Tao ancestor is already dead? If not for his death, how could he be called a will?" "Yes, the reason why the Tao ancestor disappeared was to destroy an extremely terrifying existence. That terrifying existence wanted to devour the heavenly Tao and the great Tao. After the will left behind by the Tao ancestor chose me, it told me that the deity realm of the ruins of End has already been infiltrated by that terrifying existence. If the deity realm of the ruins of End devours the heavenly Tao and releases the countless terrifying things imprisoned in the ancient desolate, the next to suffer will be the chaos," Feng Liang said in a low voice. "I also wanted to tell this to the deity realm of the ruins of End, but I almost died in the dark forbidden zone. After that, I understood that the deity realm of the ruins of End is unreliable. If I want to save the heavenly Tao, I have to rely on my own efforts. Grandmaster, I know that you only want to cultivate in peace. I don't want to drag you into the problem, but please don't stop me. I'm already determined to dedicate myself to the Tao and risk my life for it." Feng Liang's tone was determined and no longer as indifferent as before. Han Ju silently used the derivation function and consumed 4 billion years of his lifespan to see that Feng Liang was not lying. From the looks of it, he really cared about the heavenly Tao. Perhaps this was also the reason why the heavenly Tao chose him. Han Ju said, "I hope you can do what you say. What do you think about the Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage? If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks." The Tao ancestor was not dead, but he told Feng Liang that he wasn't. Han Ju felt that things might not be that simple. However, he couldn't say it clearly. The current Tao ancestor was an existence he couldn't provoke. Even if he said it, Feng Liang wouldn't believe him. Feng Liang was determined to stir up trouble himself. Feng Liang said, "We have to suppress him. He's the saber arranged by the deity realm of the ruins of End, and he won't be the last." After the heavenly Tao restarted, the deity realm of the ruins of End has already planted 3 blades in the heavenly Tao. It's ridiculous. They didn't choose from all living beings, but sent them from the deity realm of the ruins of End. Their intentions are already clear. Perhaps in their opinion, the current heavenly Tao is nothing to fear. There's no need to hide it. After all, the Tao ancestor is already gone. Han Ju was relieved after understanding Feng Liang's thoughts. He was afraid that this fellow would collude with the Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage. The two of them chatted for a while more. When Han Ju left, Feng Liang personally sent him to the entrance of the hall. After returning to the 100-peak Immortal River, Han Ju sat on the 36th grade reincarnation world destruction Black Lotus. The first thing he did was enter the simulation trial and fight the Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage. An hour later, Han Ju opened his eyes and frowned. He couldn't kill him. The Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage was not his match, but in the Heavenly Tao, the immense providence of the Heavenly Tao supported him. If Hanju killed him 10,000 times, he would revive 10,000 times. It was a little difficult to deal with. If Hanju became enemies with the Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage, he could only trick him out of the Heavenly Tao. However, if he did so, he might be killed by the mighty figures in the deity realm of the ruins of End. Hanju began to try to subdue the Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage, but he was too powerful and difficult to suppress. If Hanju used too much strength, he would kill him and start the revival loop. No, he had to think of a way to become stronger and capture the Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage in the future. The Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage was truly too powerful. Even if the other sages joined forces, they weren't his match. Hanju couldn't allow such an existence to control the providence of the Heavenly Tao alone. Hanju suddenly thought of the Great Tao Fragment. When he gathered another 9 Great Tao Fragments, he could create a Great Tao mystical power that was especially used to suppress enemies. He currently had 6 Great Tao Fragments, and only had 3 left. As his cultivation level increased, the difficulty of triggering the system's choice also increased. The mystical powers he had created with the Great Tao Fragment were the Primordial Chaos Reincarnation Great Tao, the Great Tao of Extreme Origin, the Dark Nightmare, and the Primordial Divine Rage. They were all impressive opportunities. After confirming his target, Hanju continued cultivating. More than 2,000 years later, Hanju passed the 140,000th year, but still didn't trigger the system's choice. It was probably only triggered once every 100,000 years. On this day, an uninvited guest arrived outside the 100-Peak Immortal River. I am Great Loose Heaven, and I have specially come to acknowledge the master of the hidden sect. Great Loose Heaven's voice entered the 100-Peak Immortal River, causing the disciples to be in an uproar. They were very familiar with the name Great Loose Heaven. If they closed their eyes and looked at the Heavenly Tao Providence board, they would see this name there. It was still in the top position. After Li Daokong, Shi Du Dao, and Fong Liang successfully attained the Tao, their names disappeared. They couldn't encounter any opponents for the time being. Of course, the more important reason was that the Heavenly Tao Providence board was already useless. All living beings did not care about it at all. Under the Fusang tree, Sun Chang'an asked curiously, "Why did he come to seek refuge with us?" Chu Shuren said, "Needless to say, he was played by a sage and had no choice. With his current status and cultivation, if he can't become a sage, why would he fight for providence? How can anyone in the immortal world kill him?" As the Supreme Buddha in his previous life, Chu Shuren knew too well. With a word from a sage, all living beings would fight even if they had to risk their lives. However, sages were not omnipotent. Hanju didn't reply. Great Loose Heaven knelt in front of the 100-Peak Immortal River, looking determined to stay. The living beings witnessed this scene. News spread throughout the immortal world in the following decades and shocked all living beings. The hidden sect squeezed into the eyes of all living beings again. Outside the 33rd heaven, in the Universal Hall, the South Extreme Heavenly Venerate teased, "This Great Loose Heaven is really shameless, but it's useless. If you want to become a sage, you can't just submit to anyone unless it's the Tao ancestor." Sect Master Tianju nodded. They also felt bad about Great Loose Heaven, but they had no choice. They wanted to compensate him, but he didn't accept it and instead angered them. In the eyes of the sages, Great Loose Heaven thought too highly of himself. If he didn't become a sage, he would only be an ant floating in the mortal world. How many calamities could he survive? Without the help of a sage, the immeasurable calamity could obliterate him. Chapter 628 Tao Sect's Sage's Determination, Change of the Demon Race. Chapter 628 Tao Sect's Sage's Determination, Change of the Demon Race. Heavenly Venerate Xiandu said, "You don't have to care about Great Loose Heaven anymore. Regardless of whether he can join Hanju in the end, you can't suppress him." There were only the sages of the 3 schools of the Tao sect in the hall. This was a small circle among the sages. Even if the Jie school, the Human school, and the Chan school broke up, they were still connected inherently. The South Extreme Heavenly Venerate nodded. "I understand. No matter what, Hanju is also on good terms with us." Although the hidden sect was rapidly expanding, the South Extreme Heavenly Venerate still had a good impression of Hanju. The situation of the forces in the immortal world was ultimately a small matter. Even if the hidden sect controlled the immortal world alone, they did not care. The calamity was a calamity for all living beings, but to sages, it was only a game of chess. In a game, there were losses and wins. It was normal. Tell me about Feng Liang. Why is he looking for you? Heavenly Venerate Xian Du asked. Ever since he came to the Heavenly Tao, he had become more humane, and not as cold as before. Sect Master Tianju said. Feng Liang is testing our relationship with the deity realm of the ruins of End. The South Extreme Heavenly Venerate nodded. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du narrowed his eyes. Then what do you think? The two sages weren't fools, and naturally understood what Feng Liang meant. Ever since the Dark Sage King died, they had objections to the deity realm of the ruins of End, but they didn't dare to say anything. Senior, speak first. The South Extreme Heavenly Venerate said in a low voice. Sect Master Tianju also stared at him. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du understood what they meant. The two sages did not dare to act recklessly, and needed someone to lead them. After thinking, Heavenly Venerate Xian Du said, I was sent by a sect to manage the Heavenly Tao. I should have listened to the human school, but I was born in the Heavenly Tao. I hope that the Heavenly Tao will not be affected by the outside world. I hope that the Heavenly Tao will grow freely. I also don't want to see anyone wanting to destroy the Heavenly Tao. No matter who it is, if they dare to do this, I will definitely become their enemy. Even if my body and soul are destroyed, I will never regret it. His tone was very serious, and even made one feel hysterical. The South Extreme Heavenly Venerate and Sect Master Tianju were shocked. They were only testing him. They didn't expect Heavenly Venerate Xian Du to be so determined. The two sages looked at each other. Sect Master Tianju gritted his teeth and said, We were also born in the Heavenly Tao. We also had great ambitions at the beginning of becoming sages, but, before the Tao ancestor disappeared, the Heavenly Tao sages were all chosen from the Heavenly Tao. They were all ambitious, but after becoming sages, they discovered that things were not that simple. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. There was also the Great Tao outside the Heavenly Tao. The Heavenly Tao was controlled by the Great Tao. The South Extreme Heavenly Venerate said. Since Senior said so, we can't beat around the bush anymore. That's right. We can't stand the deity realm of the ruins of End either. I even suspect that the Dark Sage King's backing is those mighty figures in the deity realm of the ruins of End. They're acting. I even suspect that Nuwa and Fuxishan are not dead at all. Speaking of this, the South Extreme Heavenly Venerate was very angry. The deity realm of the ruins of End always wanted to restrict the Heavenly Tao's development. Every time the calamity erupted, the deity realm of the ruins of End would send news, specifying who would win. The previous heavenly race was arranged by the deity realm of the ruins of End. Sage Fated Secrets and Sage Jinan obediently became dogs. What happened in the end? After becoming the Mad Sages, the deity realm of the ruins of End directly abandoned them, and even snatched their primordial purple chi. As the saying went, the fox would mourn the dead rabbit. After the two sages died, the other sages couldn't help but have some grudges. This was also the reason why they did not become enemies with Hanju. They didn't want to be a blade that would definitely kill them. Besides, Hanju could help them protect the Heavenly Tao. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du said, Since you understand, I'll tell you the plan directly. The Heavenly Tao sages have to stand on the same side. Feng Liang should mean this. Li Daokong is Hanju's disciple. Don't worry. Heavenly Venerate Wufa, Qiu Shilai, the Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage, and Shi Du Dao will be our targets. We have to pull them to our side. Sect Master Tianju frowned. The Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage is so powerful. What if he's unwilling? Heavenly Venerate Xian Du said indifferently. If Hanju can cripple a sage, so can we. The two sages were shocked. They didn't expect Heavenly Venerate Xian Du to be so determined. I don't know what happened in the depths of the chaos. The deity realm of the ruins of End's killing intent towards the Heavenly Tao is already very obvious. The The Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage is a signal. In order to support him, they even dare to attack the ancestor. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du's expression darkened. The South Extreme Heavenly Venerate asked, "But we aren't the Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage's match. We can't kill him, but in the Heavenly Tao he can't kill us either. What we have to do is restrain him, and not let him nurture a force." When Hanju has absolute confidence in killing the Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage, he will definitely attack. Hanju is very smart. He will protect the Heavenly Tao. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du said firmly. From today onwards, the three schools of the Tao sect will target the Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage and the demons. If the Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage dares to support the demons or other factions, the three schools of the Tao sect will besiege him. We won't give him a chance. Hearing this, the South Extreme Heavenly Venerate and Sect Master Tianju agreed. After kneeling for 100 years, Hanju finally moved Great Loose Heaven into the Taoist temple. After seeing him, Great Loose Heaven was pleasantly surprised and hurriedly kowtowed. Facing a sage, what was kowtowing? It was not embarrassing. Hanju said, "The sage positions are already full. Why do you feel that joining me is useful?" Great Loose Heaven gritted his teeth. "The sage positions are already full even without you." Hanju smiled, but the divine light on his body covered his expression. "If I help you become a sage, what can I obtain?" Hanju asked. Great Loose Heaven replied without hesitation, "Eternal loyalty." "Oh, then do you mind if I plot against you?" "I don't mind. It seems that you're very determined. The sages have let me down. This is my only way. Instead of being a dog for the other sages, I'd rather be a dog for you. I can see your attitude towards your disciples from Li Daokong. I won't regret it. Sage, please give me a chance." Great Loose Heaven placed his forehead on the ground again. He trembled. Even a pseudo-sage couldn't suppress his emotions. In order to become a sage, he had lost all his self-esteem and face. If Hanju refused, not to mention him, the entire Loose Heaven sect, and the Loose Heaven realm, would become a joke in the myriad worlds. He was gambling. He could only gamble like this. Hanju said, "Go back and deal with the sect. Cultivate diligently in the 100-peak Immortal River next. You can become a sage, but I need you to endure for a period of time." "No problem." Great Loose Heaven agreed in surprise. Great Loose Heaven has a favorable impression of you. Current favorability: 5 stars. Hanju waved his hand and sent him out of the 100-peak Immortal River. Great Loose Heaven's worship was both a good and not so good thing for Hanju. In his eyes, the game of Heavenly Tao was not too important. He cared more about the power of sages now. On that day, a dignified voice resounded through the myriad worlds. "I am the Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage. I was born in the Golden Crow Divine Clan, and was once the first Heavenly Emperor of the demons. The order of the Heavenly Tao has collapsed, and the sages have changed. When I return, I will set up the order of the demons, and set up the order of the immortal world. We Heavenly Tao living beings should not only kill each other and fight for providence. We should also be united and expand the Heavenly Tao in the chaos. From today onwards, the demons must cultivate for the expansion of the Heavenly Tao. I am willing to use my great providence to descend on the demons. All living beings can enter the demon race and enjoy the providence of the sages." Chapter 629 Repaying the Ancestors' Kindness. Chapter 629 Repaying the Ancestors' Kindness. Hanju had a strange expression when he heard the Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage's words. How righteous! In the past, the sages had always declared what they wanted to do in the Heavenly Tao. The Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage had directly raised his target to outside the Heavenly Tao. How could the competition for power in the world compare to the power to expand one's territory? However, did the Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage really think so? Hanju felt that it was impossible. The deity realm of the ruins of Ind couldn't send out only fence-sitters twice. It was already ridiculous for a Heavenly Venerate Xian Du to appear. The Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage would definitely destroy the Heavenly Tao, and at least restrain its development. In that case, his declaration was only to rope in more living beings to join the demons and form a greater momentum. I am the human school's Heavenly Venerate Xian Du. The demons are no longer part of the Heavenly Tao race. struggling at death's door will only hinder the development of the heavenly Tao. From today onwards, the demons will be eliminated. If you see demons, all living beings can eliminate them. I am Feng Liang of the Heavenly Tao sect. The Heavenly Tao sect feels that the demons are an obstacle to the development of the Heavenly Tao and must be eradicated. The demons will immediately leave. Those who ignore the Heavenly Tao sect will be punished by the Heavenly Tao, and the cycle of reincarnation will not tolerate it. I am the South Extreme Heavenly Venerate of the Chan School. I am Sect Master Tianju of the Jie School. I am Chiu Shilai of the Buddhist sect. The 5 sages spoke one after another, forcefully challenging the Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage. All living beings were in an uproar. The demons were still celebrating just now. With the backing of a sage, they would definitely rise in the future. In the end, 5 sages wanted to eradicate them. They were all in despair. How could a sage defeat 5 sages? Hanju's impression of Heavenly Venerate Xian Du and the other sages changed. This shouldn't be a self-directed act. It seemed that Heavenly Venerate Xian Du really wanted to protect the Heavenly Tao. He looked up at the 33rd heaven. There was no battle. It was silent and strange. It was impossible for the Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage to remain indifferent. Hanju began to look forward to their battle. In the area of the Heavenly Tao, it was impossible for the Heavenly Tao sages to be killed. The Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage couldn't do anything to the sages, and would probably use the mighty figures in the deity realm of the ruins of End. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. With the sages' powerful declarations, the situation in the immortal world changed. The demons were the most affected. Many races who had joined them left. For a time, the demons seemed to collapse. Jie School, in the sect master's Taoist temple. Huang Zuantian slowly put down the jade in his hand. Sect master Tianju had already given him an order to eliminate the demons at all costs. Why is the battle between sages so obvious? Huang Zuantian found it strange. In the past, sages had always been plotting in secret. Unlike this time, they were all angry on the surface. Huang Zuantian had a feeling that something big was about to happen. He fell into deep thought. He wanted to contact Hanju and understand the truth. Otherwise, if he rashly targeted the demons, Sect Master Tianju could withstand it, but he couldn't. The current demons had the backing of a sage. The sage couldn't kill Sect Master Tianju, but killing him was as easy as flipping his palm. Huang Zuantian felt a headache. He still wanted to cultivate well and increase his cultivation level. Huang Zuantian thought for a moment and still ordered the disciples to besiege the demons. But it could not be too big. As for contacting Hanju, he couldn't for the time being. If Hanju needed it, he would definitely take the initiative to contact him. If he contacted him now, it might let the unknown enemy find a flaw. At the same time, the forces supported by the 5 sages began to issue orders to besiege the demons. This matter couldn't be delayed. If it dragged on, the demons would think that the sages were just playing around. The demons' true end had just begun. In the blink of an eye, another 1,000 years passed. Hanju opened his eyes. He glanced at Great Loose Heaven in the corner of the Taoist temple. He was slightly satisfied. Great Loose Heaven's cultivation will was still very strong. Ever since he arranged the things in the sect, he had come to the 100-peak immortal river to cultivate in peace. All these years, without Hanju saying anything, he wouldn't disturb him. Hanju checked the emails. Your good friend Emperor Shao was cursed by a mysterious curse. Your good friend Yang Du has entered the dark forbidden zone. Your good friend Evil Heavenly Emperor has transformed into darkness and was enlightened by a mysterious mighty figure. Your good friend Shi Dudao was attacked by your good friend Li Daokong. Your good friend Ancestor Shitian was attacked by a mysterious mighty figure X129. Your good friend Heavenly Constellation Fiend Celestial has comprehended a mystical power. His cultivation has increased greatly. Your good friend Feng Liang has stepped into the river of time. His soul has passed through the primordial era. Your good friend Ancestor Shitian was attacked by a mysterious mighty figure and was severely injured. The ancestor was injured. Hanju was shocked. Ancestor Shitian was a transcendent Tao expert. Even now, Hanju couldn't hurt him at all in the simulation trial. Hanju silently used the derivation function to ask who had severely injured ancestor Shitian. Karma Heaven, Great Tao Divine Spirit, formed by the Great Tao of Karma. Later, it was controlled by ancestor Shitian, and was deprived of the Great Tao origin. Therefore it hates the Heavenly Tao. Because you stopped its plan to destroy the Heavenly Tao, it has developed hatred towards you. Current hatred points, 4 stars. It was him. Hanju mourned for ancestor Shitian. Being targeted by a mortal enemy was probably not as simple as being severely injured. Hanju couldn't help but think of Dijuan, Jade Bodhi and 7 Tao Sage. Thinking about it, the 4 of them had a favorable impression of him. They must have a good relationship. He didn't expect them to stab ancestor Shitian in the back. Ancestor Shitian's tragedy strengthened Hanju's determination not to leave the Heavenly Tao. He looked at Great Loose Heaven and said, "Cultivate outside the Taoist temple and explore the 100-peak Immortal River." Hearing this, Great Loose Heaven opened his eyes and bowed before leaving. He was also very curious about the 100-peak Immortal River, but Hanju's Taoist temple isolated his divine sense, and he couldn't spy on it. After Great Loose Heaven left, Hanju took out the Book of Misfortune. He prepared to reinforce ancestor Shitian. Coincidentally, Karma Heaven wanted to kill him. It would be great if ancestor Shitian and Karma Heaven were still fighting. 5 days later, Hanju's lifespan began to decrease. He opened his attributes panel and emails and stared at them. 10 billion years. 100 billion years. A trillion years. 10 trillion years. Hanju's mentality was still considered calm. Perhaps he had gotten arrogant. As long as he didn't spend more than a quadrillion years of his lifespan, it felt fine. His lifespan continued to decrease. 500 trillion years. 600 trillion years. Because of your curse, your enemy Karma Heaven's Tao heart has wavered. Your enemy Karma Heaven was attacked by your good friend ancestor Shitian and was severely injured. Hanju immediately stopped. He sighed silently. "Ancestor, I've returned the favor of your preaching back then." After resting for a few days, Hanju started cursing Kundi. He would curse based on his hatred points. The higher the hatred points, the more he would curse first. There was no need to curse anyone below 3 stars. A month later, Hanju gave Kundi and the chaotic deity a quadrillion years of lifespan each. The 2 mighty figures were cursed until their Tao hearts were damaged. Hanju had an octillion years of lifespan. He didn't even spend a significant number now. He suddenly had a bold thought. Should he take out 10 quadrillion years to play? Even if he couldn't curse the chaotic deity to death, he could at least severely injure him. The moment this thought appeared, Hanju's heart started to beat faster. Try. The chaotic deity had 5 stars of hatred towards him. The earlier he got rid of him, the better. Hanju adjusted his condition for a few days and took out the Book of Misfortune again. Chapter 630 Fall of a Deity, Chaos of Order. Chapter 630 Fall of a Deity, Chaos of Order. Half a month later, Hanju had already deducted nearly 5 quadrillion years of his lifespan. His eyes began to fill with blood. This was a huge gamble, a huge waste of lifespan. During this period of time, 3 emails appeared. Your enemy, the chaotic deity, has suffered damage to his Tao heart due to your curse. Because of your curse, the chaotic mental demon has invaded your enemy chaotic deity's Tao heart. Because of your curse, the great Tao of your enemy, the chaotic deity, has entered chaos. The power of order has begun to collapse. With another 5 quadrillion years of lifespan, the chaotic deity should be crippled. Hanju gritted his teeth and persisted. There was nothing wrong with his body for the time being, but his lifespan had been deducted until his heart bled. 5 quadrillion years. Even the Heavenly Tao probably did not exist for so long. Bear with it. If I can curse the chaotic deity to death, the other enemies will probably be shocked. Hanju felt relieved. In terms of strength, he was inferior to the deity realm of the ruins of End. He couldn't be bothered to play tricks. No matter how powerful and how scheming you are, I will use this sinister method to break through. The chaotic deity sent you a dream. Do you accept? The chaotic deity sent you a dream. Do you accept? The chaotic deity sent you a dream. Do you accept? These notifications suddenly appeared in front of Hanju. He was stunned. The chaotic deity had already discovered that he was the Dark Forbidden Lord? Killing intent instantly burst out from Hanju's eyes. Then you'll die even more thoroughly. After grinding dozens of times, the chaotic deity no longer tried to visit him in his dreams. But Hanju's curse was still ongoing. When Hanju consumed nearly 8 quadrillion years of his lifespan, he saw 2 more emails. Your enemy, the chaotic deity, has suffered damage to his Tao heart due to your curse. Your enemy, the chaotic deity, used a Tao division divine technique to disperse karma, and the chaos lost order. Hanju's curse missed. This feeling was very strange, but it was also very obvious. He couldn't curse the chaotic deity, as if he had already died. Hanju checked his interpersonal relationships, and discovered that the chaotic deity's portrait was still there. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. This fellow, not bad. Hanju asked in his mind. What's the chaotic deity's state now? 160 billion years of lifespan will be consumed. Do you want to continue? Continue. The chaotic deity dispersed karma, and his soul dispersed into the chaos. Although he didn't die completely, the threat he poses to you is temporarily nullified. Hanju heaved a sigh of relief and felt comfortable. He looked at the Book of Misfortune. As expected of a freedom numinous treasure. How powerful. The Book of Misfortune was technically trash. Its only characteristic was that it couldn't be deduced by others. Its curse power consumed too much lifespan. If it was thrown to other living beings, they would probably treat it as evil and not dare to use it. Hanju nurtured it step by step until now. In addition, his lifespan was already terrifying, so it could have such an effect. Dijuan sent you a dream. Do you accept? Another dream notification appeared. Hanju hesitated for a moment, but still chose to accept it. His identity as the Dark Forbidden Lord might have been exposed, but he still wanted to act. As long as he did not admit it, it did not count. This was a dream realm above the sea of clouds. The scene was beautiful, the wind was gentle, and the sun was beautiful. Dijuan stared at him and asked, Do you know the Dark Forbidden Lord? Hanju frowned. Why do you ask? Are you really being cursed? Of course. What, you think I'm the Dark Forbidden Lord and want to blame me? I, Hanju, have always been in seclusion, and don't take the initiative to provoke others. But I'm not afraid of trouble. If you insist on slandering me, I won't admit it. Hanju said indignantly, Senior, you've visited me in my dreams several times recently. You've changed. You're always testing me. Have you forgotten that you wanted to fight for opportunities for me in the past? Why are you like this? What did I do wrong that made you dissatisfied? Remember, I didn't use your help. Hearing that, Dijuan frowned. He sighed and said, Something big has happened in the chaos. What does the incident in the chaos have to do with me? Other than the last time I dealt with the Dark Sage King, I didn't leave the immortal world. Hanju was still furious. Dijuan said faintly, The chaotic deity who controls the chaotic order was cursed by the Dark Forbidden Lord and died. Now that the chaotic order is in chaos, those restrained sinister devils will wreak havoc in the chaos. Even the restrictions of the ancient desolate will loosen. Who is the chaotic deity? What evil devil? The restrictions of the ancient desolate? What's hidden there? Hanju looked confused. It didn't matter if Dijuan believed it or not. In his mind, he wasn't the Dark Forbidden Lord at all. He didn't know the chaotic deity at all. Dijuan sighed. I hope you have nothing to do with the Dark Forbidden Lord. Otherwise you will be implicated. With that, Dijuan waved his sleeve and the dream shattered. Hanju's consciousness returned to reality. Dijuan's hatred towards you has increased. Current hatred points, 3 stars. Hehe. Sages really knew how to change sides. Hanju couldn't be bothered to guess if Dijuan believed him. In any case, he was hiding in the Tao field. He would curse whoever provoked him. He adjusted his state of mind, and continued cultivating in the deity realm of the ruins of End. At the top of a huge tower, more than 10 mysterious figures gathered in the hall. One of the figures said in a low voice, He doesn't admit it. It was Dijuan. It's normal for him to deny it. Didn't he just attain freedom? How can he curse the chaotic deity to death? That's right. The higher one's cultivation realm goes, the greater the difference. Even if a great Tao sage is defenseless, it's impossible for him to be killed by a freedom sage. Is the dark forbidden lord really from the heavenly Tao? Now that the chaotic deity has perished, the Tao devils in the deity realm of the ruins of End have begun to kill without restraint. We still have to guard against the restrictions of the ancient desolate. Compared to the Tao devils, the existence in the ancient desolate is what we should be most afraid of. The other figures spoke. Kundi, Niwa, and Fuxishan were among them. Niwa sighed. We shouldn't have sent the Dark Sage King to attack the heavenly Tao. I think the Dark Forbidden Lord should have nothing to do with Hanju. Only one person might be the Dark Forbidden Lord, and is most suitable for his strength. All the figures were silent. Niwa didn't say it clearly, but they all knew. Tao Ancestor. They could visit Hanju in his dreams, but they couldn't deduce who the Dark Forbidden Lord was. There was only one existence that could make them so helpless, and that was the Tao Ancestor. A tall figure said, perhaps the reason why the Dark Forbidden Lord targeted the chaotic deity is not to protect the heavenly Tao. What do you mean? Dijuan asked. The tall figure said, legend has it that the Tao Ancestor established the ancient desolate and suppressed all the providence of the primordial world in the ancient desolate, including the Buzhou Divine Mountain, the endless sea of blood, the ancestral Magus's corpse, and the heavenly sect master. The Buzhou Divine Mountain is Panga's spine. The ancestral Magus is Panga's blood essence. The heavenly sect master is formed by Panga's essence soul. Everyone was shocked. What? You mean that the Tao Ancestor wants to revive Pangu? How is that possible? Has he gone mad? Indeed. The Tao Ancestor seems to be afraid of something. If he's not a match, he can only hope to revive Pangu, the ancestor of legends, and seek a way out. If Pangu revived and discovered that we were plotting against the heavenly Tao, panic and uneasiness began to fill the hall. Chapter 631 Chaos in the Deity Realm. 2 Chaotic Fiend Celestials. Chapter 631 Chaos in the Deity Realm. 2 Chaotic Fiend Celestials. After cursing the chaotic deity, Hanju's life became comfortable again. He didn't know about the changes in the deity realm of the ruins of End, but the immortal world was still stable. After being attacked by the 5 sages, the Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage became well-behaved and did not take the next step. Under the siege of the various factions, the demons were torn apart. Later, the Golden Crow Demon Emperor announced that he would lead the Golden Crow Divine Clan to leave the demons. There was no king among the demons, and they were completely dissolved. The various demon kings and demon saints no longer called themselves demons. The demons declined just like that. The demons hated the various factions and did not want to join the famous race. Therefore, they began to use the name of the ancient race 100,000 years ago. The sages had no objections to this. They were enemies with the Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage, not the demons themselves. Time passed quickly. Year after year passed. 1,000 years passed in the blink of an eye. Hanju opened his eyes and stretched. The chaos did not affect the heavenly Tao. Everyone didn't even know what was happening outside. Hanju checked his emails and couldn't help but be moved. Your good friend Evil Heavenly Emperor was attacked by a mysterious Tao Devil, X73629. Your son Han Tua was attacked by a mysterious Tao Devil, X2930. Your good friend Ancestor Shitian was attacked by an inauspicious evil, X90293. Your disciple Zhoufan was attacked by an inauspicious evil, X1594. Your good friend Heavenly Venerate Xian, Du was attacked by a mysterious Tao Devil, X928202. So many attacks. Inauspicious evil. Mysterious Tao Devil. Hanju noticed that Heavenly Venerate Xian, Du was also attacked. He looked up and discovered that Heavenly Venerate Xian, Du wasn't in the Tao field outside the 33rd heaven. He had probably gone to the deity realm of the ruins of End earlier. The deity realm of the ruins of End was in chaos. Hanju was amused. He didn't expect the curse to have such an effect. Although this matter would harm many innocent people, he couldn't care less. I would rather see others die than die myself. With the hatred of the chaotic deity, he would find trouble with Hanju sooner or later. In any case, the chaotic deity would die sooner or later. Once the deity realm of the ruins of End was in chaos, they would no longer scheme against the heavenly Tao in a short period of time. No wonder the Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage was so quiet. Sigh, I'm still the greatest contributor to the heavenly Tao. Hanju sighed. O Tao ancestor, if you see this, you must remember my kindness and not scheme against me. After reading the emails, Hanju looked at the immortal world. Ever since Li Daokong attained the Tao, Hanyu had been considered to have graduated. Now he had traveled the immortal world alone, and his reputation had soared. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. This kid was already an immortal emperor. Not bad. Hanyu hid in a forest and cultivated. He didn't encounter any trouble for the time being. The current immortal world had already surpassed the immortal world from before the calamity. It was mainly because the sages took turns preaching the Tao, causing the cultivation level of the cultivators to increase very quickly. Who would have thought that 100,000 years ago, the immortal world was still barren? Hanju came to the second Tao field and started to pay attention to the fiend celestial candidates. Yang Du had already left the Earth immortal world. Hanju calculated that this fellow was not in danger. He even obtained many great opportunities and had great providence. As for the other fiend celestial candidates, only 2 were still alive. They were called Ren Gang and Yin Hongchen. Yin Hongchen was a woman. Her appearance was not devastatingly beautiful, and she did things extremely ruthlessly. She usually did not take the initiative to provoke others, but if she discovered that someone was a threat to her, she would definitely eliminate them as quickly as possible. Ren Gang was filled with righteousness and could easily make friends. By relying on loyalty, he could always turn the situation around. Hanju thought for a moment and visited the 2 of them in their dreams, teaching them a mystical power each. Just like facing Yang Du, Hanju didn't expose his identity. After making arrangements for the 2 of them, Hanju walked out of the Taoist temple to visit Morong Qi, the Crimson Fox, and the heavenly constellation Fiend Celestial. Their cultivation levels increased very quickly. The spirit Qi in the Tao field was even richer than in the immortal world. Hanju explained the Tao to them alone. The great Tao of extreme origin contained the profundities of all the great Tao, and could allow them to gain some insights. 10 years later, Hanju returned to the 100-peak immortal river, and continued cultivating. Dark Forbidden Zone. The evil heavenly emperor sat on a huge meteor and cultivated. Black Qi surrounded him, and his aura was terrifying. At this moment, a black shadow appeared in front of him and knelt down. Your Majesty, the deity realm of the ruins of End is already in chaos. The 7 Tao sage was attacked by a powerful Tao devil, and was severely injured. More and more living beings began to escape towards the heavenly Tao. The black shadow said in a low voice with excitement. The evil heavenly emperor slowly opened his eyes. He frowned and muttered to himself, "Looks like the chaotic deity has really perished. Who is the Dark Forbidden Lord? He's actually so powerful." He had once suspected that Hanju was the Dark Forbidden Lord, or that Hanju's master was the Dark Forbidden Lord. Now he didn't think so anymore, because the chaotic deity was too powerful. The chaotic deity who controlled the chaotic order was a true great Tao divine spirit. Even if the heavenly Tao sages came to the chaos, they had to follow the rules. With the death of such an extraordinary existence, the evil heavenly emperor first thought of the long-lost Tao ancestor. Only the Tao ancestor could kill him. Your Majesty, should we take action? This is the best opportunity for the heavenly court to recruit troops. The Black Shadow asked. The evil heavenly emperor said, "There's no hurry. We'll take action when the deity realm of the ruins of End is completely chaotic. How about those little heavenly Tao?" The Black Shadow replied. After the chaotic deity died, the inauspicious evil that restricted the little heavenly Tao all surged towards the deity realm of the ruins of End. The providence of the little heavenly Tao is rapidly increasing. Where's the ancient desolate? It's said that more than 10 transcendent Tao experts are guarding it. The inauspicious evil and the Tao devils are all rushing to the ancient desolate like mad. Your Majesty, what is hidden in the ancient desolate? The Black Shadow was very curious. The situation was too abnormal. The evil heavenly emperor did not answer, but his eyes revealed worry. By the way, recently, 2 heavenly Tao life forms have trespassed into the heavenly court's territory. I've already made a move to capture them. The providence of these 2 is not simple. They are very similar to the chaotic fiend celestials. I don't dare to kill them easily. Your Majesty, please make a decision. The Black Shadow saw that the evil heavenly emperor did not want to reveal anything and changed the topic. Oh, chaotic fiend celestials? Bring them here. Yes. The Black Shadow vanished. 5 minutes later, the Black Shadow appeared in front of the evil heavenly emperor. He waved his right hand, and 2 figures fell to the ground. They were Han Tuo and Etian. The 2 of them were wrapped in a black aura, and could not break free. Etian cursed. What are you doing? If you want to kill or torture me, say something. Han Tuo looked around warily, his gaze landing on the evil heavenly emperor. The evil heavenly emperor's appearance was clearly not righteous, making him even more nervous. The evil heavenly emperor frowned when he saw Han Tuo. He waved his hand and said, Black Heaven General, leave first. Yes. The Black Shadow vanished again. Etian also looked nervously at the evil heavenly emperor. He could sense that he was different from the enemies he had encountered in the past. Profound and mysterious. Han Tuo gritted his teeth and said, Senior, we just accidentally entered your territory. We have no ill intentions. Why are you holding on to us and not letting go? He had no choice but to bow his head. The evil heavenly emperor asked, What's your name? Han Tuo replied, My name is Tang Sanzang. Etian glared at him. Taking advantage of me? The evil heavenly emperor smiled, and the terrifying aura around him retracted. He's really similar to that kid, be it his looks or his mouth. The evil heavenly emperor's lips curled up slightly. He slowly stood up and said, Since you're here, don't even think about leaving. From today onwards, the 2 of you will serve me. Chapter 632 Number 1 Talent Since Ancient Times. Chapter 632 Number 1 Talent Since Ancient Times. Why should I serve you? Are you very strong? Etian shouted unhappily. He had always been the one taking in subordinates. He had never been anyone's subordinate. Previously, in the Demons and the Divine Palace, the leaders had been polite to him. The evil heavenly emperor said calmly, I'm the previous heavenly emperor of the heavenly court. I've already attained the Tao. Tell me, am I strong? The previous heavenly emperor? Han Tuo was shocked. The current heavenly emperor was Feng Liang, and Feng Liang was his father's grand disciple. Was the evil heavenly emperor a friend or foe of his father, Hanju? The evil heavenly emperor seemed to see through his nervousness. Back then, before your father became an immortal, he was highly regarded by me. Your father even worked for me. Don't you want that? Han Tuo asked carefully. My father? Etian was surprised. Wasn't Han Tuo's father long gone? That's right. It's Hanju, the master of the hidden sect. The evil heavenly emperor said calmly. Han Tuo looked like Hanju. The evil heavenly emperor had just calculated the karma and actually couldn't deduce it. This meant that Han Tuo had a powerful background and could only be related to Hanju. Etian widened his eyes and exclaimed, Your father is the sect master of the hidden sect? Why didn't you mention it before? The master of the hidden sect was a legendary figure in the immortal world. He was on par with sages and had once saved the myriad worlds in the universe. He had endless merit. Han Tuo smiled bitterly. I only learned of it not long ago. He looked at the evil heavenly emperor. He was still a little vigilant, but the other party directly told him about his relationship with Hanju. He naturally couldn't lie. Can you tell me about the past you knew my father? Han Tuo asked. The evil heavenly emperor smiled meaningfully and slowly sat down. Of course. This has to start before the heavenly Tao was restarted. At that time, the heavenly court controlled the myriad worlds in the universe. Your father was only a nobody in a mortal world. Han Tuo meditated and began to listen carefully. Etian was also very interested in Han Tuo's father and began to listen quietly. The evil heavenly emperor fell into a daze and recounted the past. After a long while, after the evil heavenly emperor finished speaking, Han Tuo and Etian were still immersed in the past. Etian jolted awake and suddenly asked, According to you, the sect master of the hidden sect only used a few 100,000 years to attain the Tao. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. Han Tua also realized this, and his expression turned strange. The evil heavenly emperor said, "That's right. Han Ju is only 30,000 years older than Han Tua. His talent is the greatest I've ever seen. No existence can compare to him." Han Tuo's expression changed drastically. 30,000 years. If he was given 30,000 years, he might not be able to break through to the perfected zenith heaven golden immortal realm. Han Ju, who was only 30,000 years older than him, was already a top-notch existence among sages. This difference. Han Tua smiled bitterly, deeply affected. He originally thought that he would become Han Ju's pride. Now, it seemed that he had embarrassed him. Etian was also shocked. He had always thought that he was the most talented, but compared to Han Tuo's father. Oh right, I've calculated. Han Ju's Tao attainment timing was close to your birth date. In other words, it only took Han Ju more than 30,000 years to go from a mortal to a sage. The evil heavenly emperor teased. He was also shocked. This kid, the evil heavenly emperor, knew that Han Ju's talent was extremely terrifying. But after thinking about it, it made his scalp tingle. Even if the Tao ancestor was reborn, he still couldn't compare. Han Tua and Etian fell into shock and couldn't extricate themselves for a long time. The evil heavenly emperor did not disturb them. He had to calm down himself. Han Tua looked up and clenched his fists. "You've nurtured my father. Then I'll serve you. Can you let me catch up to my father?" The evil heavenly emperor's expression did not change, as he felt a little awkward. He was ashamed to say this. He knew his limits. It was impossible for his care for Han Ju to help him attain the Tao. He himself had relied on the inheritance of the Dark Sage King to attain the Tao. The evil heavenly emperor said, "I can't promise you directly. Your father's talent is unheard of. However, if you serve me, you will definitely obtain a huge opportunity. The opportunity far exceeds your growth in the immortal world. The immortal world is still the chessboard of the sages, but there are existences stronger than them in the dark forbidden zone. Now that the chaos is in chaos, it's time to fight for the huge opportunity. The two of you have the potential of chaotic fiend celestials. I will confer you the title of heavenly generals. There will only be 3 heavenly generals in the heavenly court. Your status will only be second to mine." Han Tua and Etian looked at each other and saw the anticipation in each other's eyes. Instead of messing around, it was better to follow the ancient heavenly emperor, who had nurtured a sage. Etian asked, "What's a chaotic fiend celestial?" The evil heavenly emperor looked at him deeply. "You are." Etian was stunned. Han Tua was very calm. Etian's potential was too ridiculous. Even if his father gave him a cheat, he almost couldn't catch up. Only the legendary chaotic fiend celestial could explain it. Wait. Then, what was his father? Was he also a chaotic fiend celestial? The difference in potential between the chaotic fiend celestials was also great? Han Tua couldn't figure it out. But after hearing the evil heavenly emperor's story, he suddenly didn't dare to expect to surpass Han Ju. He only hoped to satisfy him. 1,000 years passed. Han Ju opened his eyes and deduced Han Tua. This fellow had left the heavenly Tao for a period of time. His cultivation level had been increasing, but the dark forbidden zone was still very dangerous. After calculating with his fingers, Han Ju's expression became strange. He deduced that there was a familiar providence beside Han Tua. Evil heavenly emperor. Providence was very mysterious. Not only was there providence in the heavenly Tao, but there was also providence in the chaos. It was the providence of the great Tao. This kid. Han Ju suddenly discovered that Han Tuo's path was very similar to his. Along the way, he encountered the care of immortal Emperor Samsara and the heavenly emperor. However, the evil heavenly emperor was ultimately on the wrong path. Han Ju was still a little worried. "I want to know what will happen if Han Tua follows the evil heavenly emperor?" Han Ju asked in his mind. 4 billion years of lifespan will be consumed. Do you want to continue? Continue. Han Ju's consciousness entered the illusion. He opened his eyes and discovered that he had arrived at a huge meteor. Countless figures were standing around him. Not only on the meteor, but countless figures were also floating in the surrounding space. They were all dressed in black armor and surrounded by a black aura. They were all looking in one direction. Evil Heavenly Emperor. The evil Heavenly Emperor sat on a stone chair with a domineering attitude. In front of him stood 3 figures emitting a terrifying aura. Among them were Han Tuo and Etion. Hanju narrowed his eyes. He noticed that Han Tuo's state was like that of a freedom sage. His freedom aura was visible to the naked eye. Following the evil Heavenly Emperor, could Han Tuo become a freedom sage? Etion said in a low voice. Your Majesty, we are ready. The evil Heavenly Emperor slowly stood up. The entire dark space distorted as a domineering aura erupted, sweeping through the dark forbidden zone. Immortal gods of the Heavenly Court. I have established the Heavenly Court for several eras. The Heavenly Court has unified the dark forbidden zone and swept through the deity realm of the ruins of End. We have destroyed the inauspicious evil, expelled the Tao devils, and protected hundreds of little heavenly Tao. You are my proudest soldiers. Now an unprecedented enemy is about to arrive. We can't retreat. If we do, the heavenly Tao will definitely be destroyed. Are you prepared to fight for the honor of Heavenly Court? The evil Heavenly Emperor's voice was filled with dominance, causing all the immortals of the Heavenly Court to reply in unison. I am willing to sacrifice my body and soul for your Majesty. Chapter 633 Mysterious Powerful Enemy. Chapter 633 Mysterious Powerful Enemy. Hearing the shouts of the surrounding Heavenly Court soldiers, Hanju had a strange expression. What happened? The Heavenly Court had begun to protect the Heavenly Tao. Several eras. Hanju thought that the evil Heavenly Emperor would be plotted against in a few years. He didn't expect him to still be able to sweep through the deity realm of the ruins of End. It seemed that the evil Heavenly Emperor had not completely turned dark. At this moment, Hanju saw a light appear in the darkness behind the evil Heavenly Emperor. It quickly expanded and illuminated the dark forbidden zone. Han Tuo suddenly jumped up and took out a golden spear with black patterns. He roared hoarsely, "He's here. Prepare for battle." A terrifying figure emerged from Han Tuo's body. It was the Dharma idol of a chaotic fiend celestial. Etion roared at the sky. His body quickly grew taller and transformed into a terrifying figure that was 10 million feet tall. His upper body was like a human, and his lower body was like a flood dragon. His muscles were like they were cast from iron. He had 3 heads and 6 arms, and had a sinister expression. As his white hair fluttered, 4 vertical eyes appeared on his face. Hanju saw that light rushing over at an extremely terrifying speed. The surrounding immortals of the Heavenly Court instantly turned into dust. The illusion shattered. In a daze, Hanju saw that half of the evil Heavenly Emperor's body had also turned into dust. When he opened his eyes again, Hanju's consciousness had already returned to reality. He frowned. Who was the Heavenly Court facing? Although it happened several eras later, when facing such an unknown opponent, he had to know in advance and prepare in advance. Hanju liked to kill the terrifying big boss in his cradle. How dangerous would it be when the enemy came knocking on his door? I want to know who the enemy that the Heavenly Court encountered in the illusion was. Hanju asked in his mind. It involves karma that surpasses the current limits of the system. It cannot be deduced. So powerful? Hanju frowned. Could it be that the Tao ancestor had turned evil? No, it might be the mysterious existence that forced the Tao ancestor to disappear. Unable to figure it out, Hanju could only give up. It was still a long time away. In other words, it was a good thing that Han Tuo followed the evil Heavenly Emperor. As for the terrifying existence he encountered in the end, it was not targeted at the Heavenly Court, but the entire chaos. In that case, it was good to let Han Tuo follow the evil Heavenly Emperor. It could be considered making up for the fact that Hanju didn't serve the evil Heavenly Emperor back then. I have to reevaluate the evil Heavenly Emperor. He should only hate the Heavenly Tao sages and still care about the Heavenly Tao. Hanju thought. If the evil Heavenly Emperor didn't become corrupted, he could support that Heavenly Court. Hanju didn't have many true friends in this life. The evil Heavenly Emperor was definitely his best friend. Hanju was still a little happy to see the evil Heavenly Emperor's future. The evil Heavenly Emperor was not blinded by revenge. The more Hanju thought about it, the happier he became. He looked at Great Loose Heaven. In the past few years, Great Loose Heaven had already completely integrated into the 100-peak Immortal River. He was also cultivating under the Fusang tree. It was worth mentioning that he was once good friends with Chu Shuren in his previous life. At first, the Great Loose Heaven was also shocked by the sect's foundation. The number of immortal emperors here was simply terrifying. Now he had already completely taken on the identity of a hidden sect disciple. He usually did not put on airs when facing personal disciples. It's a waste to give him the Great Tao Purple Chi. The other personal disciples will definitely have objections. Hanju thought. Among his disciples, Tao's sovereign was still far from attaining the Tao. There was no need to mention the others. It took a long time for a Zenith Heaven Golden Immortal to reach the Pseudo-Sage realm. It was even more so for an early stage and perfected Pseudo-Sage. How did the sages outside the Heavenly Tao break through? If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. Hanju felt that the primordial purple chi was not necessary. There had to be another way. He would see in the future. Hanju continued to pay attention to the other outer sect disciples of the hidden sect. The Holy Mother sect had already become a top-notch force in the immortal world. It had more than 100 million disciples, and all of them were female. Their cultivation levels were uneven, and their forces even spread to some mortal worlds. Liao also became famous in the immortal world. With the Holy Mother sect's providence, her cultivation had already reached the late-stage Zenith Heaven Golden Immortal Realm, and was chasing after Tao's sovereign. Tao's sovereign had just stepped into the perfected Zenith Heaven Golden Immortal Realm not long ago. But it was not so easy to become a pseudo-sage. His gaze landed on the 13th heaven. Ever since the dust settled on Meng Zhao's case, the heavenly race had become much more desolate. Many immortals and gods had joined the Heavenly Tao sect. The various races in the immortal world were not convinced by the heavenly race. In conclusion, the heavenly race had lost the hearts of the people. Ji Xianxian seemed to be deeply affected. He had been in seclusion and did not save the heavenly race's image. After observing, Hanju retracted his gaze and continued cultivating. It was very difficult to cultivate in the Freedom Realm. Hanju couldn't relax. His goal was to catch up to the great Tao sages and surpass them. Spring passed and autumn came. The situation in the immortal world changed. Another 2,000 years passed. There were no longer any demons in the immortal world. The ancient race and the famous race were on opposite sides. The number of living beings was immeasurable. Hanju ended his seclusion again and opened his eyes. He habitually checked his emails. The recent emails were no different from the past. No information attracted him for the time being. It was worth mentioning that the outside of the Heavenly Tao was still ravaged by the inauspicious evil and Tao devils. Hanju closed the emails, and his sage sense swept through the immortal world. He suddenly discovered that rolling chaotic chi was gathered on the east side of the immortal world. It was like a long bridge that disappeared into the darkness. Hanju pinched his fingers to deduce, and discovered that he couldn't see anything. He placed his gaze outside the 33rd heaven. At this moment, the sages were gathered in the Universal Hall, as if they were discussing something. Even the Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage was there. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du sensed Hanju's gaze and said, "Fellow Taoist Han, can you come?" Hearing this, Hanju hesitated for a moment, but still headed towards the 33rd heaven. In any case, he was absolutely safe within the Heavenly Tao. After entering the hall, the sages nodded at him. Li Daokong, Shi Dudao, and Feng Liang were also there. Li Daokong and Feng Liang even stood up to welcome him. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du gestured for Hanju to sit beside him. Hanju didn't stand on ceremony, and sat on his left. Hanju felt a gaze. It was the Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage. This fellow was filled with the domineering aura of an emperor. He wore a dragon robe, and was completely different from the other sages. He was very eye-catching. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du said, "I just went to the deity realm of the ruins of En not long ago. It's in chaos. It's said that the chaotic deity who controls the chaotic order was cursed to death by the dark forbidden lord. Those evil existences restricted by the chaotic deity have begun to wreak havoc in the deity realm of the ruins of End. Many mighty figures have already moved their Dao fields out of the deity realm. The sages were moved. Sure Du Dao was expressionless, but he was pleasantly surprised. The dark forbidden lord was so strong, it seemed that his choice was correct. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du continued. The heavenly Dao is the only paradise. This will be our opportunity. I have decided to expand the heavenly Dao, and let the heavenly Dao domain expand to accommodate more living beings. As time passes, it will also accommodate more sages. The South Extreme Heavenly Venerate frowned. Can we accommodate more sages just by expanding our territory? The other sages also found it strange. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du said, I think we can give it a try. All of you review the history. Don't you realize that the world created by giant god Pango has been shrinking? Every time the sages fight, the Dao ancestor will take the opportunity to split the heavenly Dao heaven and earth. Where did those worlds that were split go? The sages looked at each other. Hanju sighed secretly. This fellow really wanted the heavenly Dao to prosper. For this, he even dared to question the Dao ancestor. Chapter 634 Animosity of the Heavenly Dao and the Ruins of End, Battling Heaven Sage. Chapter 634 Animosity of the Heavenly Dao and the Ruins of End, Battling Heaven Sage. In addition, from today onwards, the Heavenly Dao will be independent. It will no longer accept any help or interference from the deity realm of the Ruins of End. In the future, the selection of sages can only be chosen from the Heavenly Dao, and not from the deity realm of the Ruins of End. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du continued with an irrefutable tone. The sages all looked at the Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage. The Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage snorted. Aren't you from the deity realm of the Ruins of End? Heavenly Venerate Xian Du said. Indeed, but you and I were born in the Heavenly Dao. We can't forget our roots. I'll first declare that I'm severing ties with the deity realm of the Ruins of End's human school. From now on, the human school will be divided into the Heavenly Dao human school and the Ruins of End human school. The sages were moved. How ruthless! Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage was also shocked as his eyelids twitched. This was a declaration of war. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du looked at the South Extreme Heavenly Venerate and Sect Master Tianju. From today onwards, the Jie school will be divided into the Heavenly Dao Jie school and the Ruins of End Jie school. The Heavenly Dao Jie school will only serve the Heavenly Dao. From today onwards, the Chan school will be divided into the Heavenly Dao Chan school and the Ruins of End Chan school. The Heavenly Dao Chan school will only serve the Heavenly Dao. The two sages expressed their stand. Qiu Shilai, Emperor Shao, and Heavenly Venerate Wufa were the same. Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage was silent. Hanju's body was covered by divine light. No one saw his mocking expression. He wanted to see what the Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage would do in this situation. Should he continue enduring the humiliation or overturn the chessboard? Fang Liang, Li Daokong, and Shi Dudao also looked at Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage. The atmosphere became strange. Hehe! Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage suddenly sneered. As he closed his eyes, a terrifying aura erupted, wreaking havoc in the divine palace. You want to force me with your identity as a Heavenly Dao Sage? Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage's tone was sinister, and his words were filled with killing intent. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du said calmly, Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage, are you fighting as a pawn or for yourself? You can choose. If you want to jump out of your brother's control, this will be the best opportunity. Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage suddenly stood up, startling the other sages. He raised his right hand, and flames burned in his palm. A black bell emitting an ancient aura slowly rose from the flames. The sages took out their Dharma treasures and prepared to fight. The South Extreme Heavenly Venerate mocked. Eastern Emperor, you want to kill a Heavenly Dao Sage in the Heavenly Dao? How ridiculous! Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage glanced at the sages disdainfully and said, Do you know why the deity realm of the Ruins of End sent me here? It's because your rebellious nature has long been exposed. When I fused with the Heavenly Dao, you had already failed. Boom! If you have problems with this website, Please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. A terrifying suction force erupted from the black bell in the Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage's hand. The universal hall shook violently. The sages were shocked. They felt something being extracted from their bodies. What power is this? Qiu Shilai said in anger. He's absorbing our heavenly Tao providence. Once the providence of the heavenly Tao was sucked dry, only one path waited for them. Death. Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage laughed wildly. Do you understand how stupid you are? A pawn wants to jump out of the chessboard. Are you qualified? Boom! The black bell shook violently. The terrifying suction force was still increasing, preventing the sages from moving even if they tried their best. The difference in cultivation was too great. Hanju stood up, and a domineering aura dispersed the black bell's suction force. The sages regained control of their bodies and flashed behind Hanju. Shi Dudao looked at Hanju's back in shock. So strong. The moment he stood up, he dispersed the suction force that made him despair. Feng Liang's expression was also very complicated. He had never known how strong his grandmaster was. The other sages heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Hanju was here. In the hall, Hanju and Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage were on par. As their eyes met, the aura of the two sages rose steadily. The heavenly phenomena changed as dark clouds surged, and the heavenly might surged. Everyone in the immortal world was terrified. Thousands of mortal worlds trembled. The Tao Seekers cultivating outside the 33rd heaven fled. Only the cultivators of Chaotic City could continue guarding. Zhou Fan stood on the city wall and looked at the universal hall with a frown. The disciples of the various sects began to discuss what had happened. In the universal hall, Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage narrowed his eyes and said, Sect Master of the hidden sect Hanju, do you really want to stop me? Didn't you say that you won't be affected by karma and won't cause trouble? Hanju said indifferently, If you want to harm the heavenly Tao, I have no choice but to make a move. You've only just entered the freedom realm. Do you really think you're my match? If I dare to come, I will definitely be able to kill you. The Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage frowned. He was very afraid of Hanju. The deity realm of the ruins of In's plan had been destroyed by him time and time again. No one knew Hanju's true depth. Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage wanted to continue speaking when Hanju suddenly attacked. The primordial judgment sword appeared in his hand, and he slashed out with it. Mystical power, unparalleled sword chi. The domineering sword chi instantly shattered the universal hall. The sages behind Hanju were also killed. Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage's expression changed drastically. He raised the bell to block, but he was still sent flying. Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage's robes fluttered as he stabilized himself with a terrified expression. This fellow's sword chi. Has he really just entered the freedom realm? He stared fixedly at the vast sand formed by the universal hall. He saw terrifying Dharma idols slowly stand up and disperse the dust. The 9 fiend celestial Dharma idols above Hanju's had approached Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage. The sages who were affected earlier condensed their bodies and retreated far away. They didn't expect Hanju to accidentally injure them in order to deal with Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage. Li Daokong was also shocked. Sect Master was really ruthless. Hanju raised the primordial judgment sword. The 9 fiend celestial Dharma idols fused together and transformed into a terrifying force that entered the blade. Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage took out the black bell. The bell rang, and all living beings in the world were stunned. The chaotic space distorted. Hanju suddenly felt a mysterious force crossing the river of time to target him. This feeling was very strange, but it did exist. Mighty figures could guard against enemies by attacking their past selves. Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage has developed hatred towards you. Current hatred points, 6 stars. Detected that the Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage has crossed the river of time and wants to harm the past you. Do you want to use the system to resist? Yes. Hanju saw the notification in front of him and chose yes. With the system around, he could focus on the battle ahead. Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage was something. He could actually harm his past self in front of him. The power of time was very difficult to show in the simulation trial. Hanju still underestimated Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage's strength. Hanju waved his sword and slashed. The great Tao mystical power, primordial divine rage, swept out with the power of the 9 fiend celestial Dharma idols. The sword chi swept past Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage at an extremely fast speed. A terrifying black crack that was unknown in the chaotic space tore open. Too fast. The sages couldn't see the sword chi at all. Even someone as strong as Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage couldn't react in time, and was reduced to dust. Almost instantly, Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage condensed his body again. The Heavenly Tao Sage was undying and indestructible. Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage's expression was extremely ugly. He raised the black bell and aimed its mouth at Hanju. Countless golden crows flew out from the black bell and surged towards Hanju. The sage Tao fields along the way turned into dust one after another. The sages watched from afar and did not dare to approach. In front of a freedom sage, Heavenly Tao sages were like ants. Chapter 635 Calamity of the Heavens. Chapter 635 Calamity of the Heavens. The golden crow torrent unleashed by the black bell pierced through the 33rd heaven. The temperature of the entire immortal world increased rapidly, as did the mortal worlds far away. Hanju condensed the devour fiend celestial Dharma idol. His figure was like a giant demon. He opened his huge black hole-like mouth and swallowed countless golden crows. Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage cursed silently. Why can't I capture the past him? Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage frowned in confusion. He had relied on this mystical power to dominate the same realm. This was the first time he had encountered such a situation. Hanju didn't care what he thought. He condensed the imprisonment fiend celestial and the traversal fiend celestial, fusing the two powers into his body. Almost instantly, Hanju moved behind Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage. The other party vanished into thin air, and Hanju traveled again. The two sages chased each other, their figures leaving behind dazzling afterimages. Outside the 33rd heaven the sages were dazzled. Shi Dudao clenched his fists in his sleeves and gritted his teeth. What speed is this? No, it's no longer speed, it's Tao. That's right, Hanju and Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage's movement was no longer speed, but Tao's judgment. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of millions of shadows appeared and occupied the void. Several breaths later, Hanju struck Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage's back with his palm. The great Tao of imprisonment erupted, and instantly imprisoned him. How can this be? Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage was shocked. What great Tao was this? It actually made his freedom power unable to be activated. Hanju had already used more than one great Tao power. What kind of existence was this kid? Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage had no choice but to control the black bell to protect him. Hanju condensed dozens of chaotic fiend celestial Dharma idols and surrounded the black bell. Boom! The black bell shattered and turned into countless stars that scattered, as if a sea of stars had suddenly been born. Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage's eyes widened in disbelief. Impossible! His supreme treasure was shattered so quickly. Hanju killed Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage again. Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage revived as well. Hanju imprisoned him again. He caught Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage in his hand, but he directly self-destructed, wanting to escape the great Tao of imprisonment. Hanju caught him again. The two of them continued the loop. Hanju had a headache. Just like in the simulation trial, he couldn't subdue Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage. Unlike other enemies, Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage was in existence at the perfected freedom realm. Hanju's imprisonment power couldn't stop him from self-destructing. Hanju couldn't admit defeat. If he stopped, Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage would definitely become arrogant and think that he could do whatever he wanted just because Hanju could not. He had to beat this fellow up 100 times. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. 1,000 times. 10,000 times. 100,000 times. 1,000,000 times. Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage was in despair. He had self-destructed 1,000,000 times, but still couldn't escape his fate of being imprisoned. Hanju was too serious. Although the sages couldn't see what was happening clearly, they could feel the powerful aura of the Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage disappearing and reappearing. This meant that he was completely suppressed by Hanju. Facing an opponent that he couldn't kill at all, Hanju persevered and didn't seem tired at all. The sages recognized him again. How ruthless! Who dared to provoke such a difficult enemy? Fortunately, they were not Hanju's mortal enemies. Even Shi Dudao was terrified. He wasn't afraid that the enemy was powerful and invincible, but that he was also so difficult to deal with. Being targeted by Hanju was definitely a nightmare. Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage was still reviving, and Hanju was still chasing after him. After 10 million revivals, Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage couldn't take it anymore. Hanju, you're too ruthless. Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage roared hoarsely. He self-destructed again. This time he did not revive. Instead, he turned into countless flames that swept in all directions, and quickly escaped the heavenly Tao. This mystical power was extremely strange. Hanju couldn't sense its aura at all. However, he could clearly sense that Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage had already left the heavenly Tao. He escaped. Hanju frowned. He couldn't find Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage, even if he used the simulation trial. He was secretly unhappy. Previously, he had wanted to comprehend a new great Tao mystical power and suppress Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage before throwing him into the primordial heavenly prison. Unfortunately, this fellow was quite something. Hanju felt that he had lost a freedom sage and was very unhappy. He turned to look at the sages in the distance. Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage has already left. All of you calm down. The sages nodded. As heavenly Tao sages, they could feel that Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage's position was already empty. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du wanted to talk to Hanju, but he immediately left. After returning to the 100-peak Immortal River, Hanju had just sat on the 36th grade Reincarnation World Destruction Black Lotus when a notification appeared in front of him. Dijuan's hatred towards you has increased. Current hatred points. 6 stars complete enemy. Hanju sighed. In the past, he had a good impression of Dijuan. Unfortunately, this fellow's future was bleak. Will you live well if you offend me? Although Hanju was cowardly, he knew his limits. As long as he didn't leave the heavenly Tao, Dijuan wouldn't be able to kill him, and would instead be tortured to death. Hanju didn't curse Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage immediately. He could do it after some time. At that time, he would curse Dijuan to death, and let Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage wallow in fear and despair. Hanju closed his eyes and started cultivating. At the same time, the immortal world and the myriad worlds in the universe were still in various calamities. Even the aftermath of the Battle of the Sages was enough to form a calamity. The sages had no choice but to clean up the aftermath. Even so, countless living beings had died. The sages wouldn't blame Hanju for this. Instead, they admired him very much. If he didn't chase Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage away, all living beings would suffer even more casualties in the future. Immortal world above the clouds. Hanyu kept casting spells. The rain fell and extinguished the heavenly fire in the human city below. These heavenly flames were extremely sinister. Unless one was at the Emperor realm, it was very difficult to extinguish them. The current human race was weak. There were only a few immortal emperors, and they couldn't go around saving people. Hanyu looked up and frowned. He thought to himself, who is it? They actually harmed our human race like this. His eyes burned with anger. Although he came from the mortal world, he had always believed in his human identity. During his travels in the immortal world, if the humans were in trouble, he would definitely help them if he could. This was also thanks to Li Daokong. When Li Daokong preached, he often instructed him that if he became stronger in the future, he had to take care of the humans. Li Daokong felt that the human race shouldn't be in such a sorry state. In the previous calamity, if not for the interference of the sages, the human race wouldn't have lost its identity as a heavenly Tao race. An hour later, Hanyu left to save the humans in the other cities. This was only a minority. Not only the humans, but the cultivators of the various races were also thinking of ways to save their races. The calamity caused by this battle caused the immortal world to fall into a short period of peace. In less than a year, with the help of the sages, the natural disasters in the myriad worlds were all eliminated. In the blink of an eye, another 1,000 years passed. Hanju opened his eyes and stretched. He said, "Come in." Outside the Taoist temple, Long Hao had been kneeling for 4 years. Hearing this, Long Hao stood up excitedly and opened the Taoist temple's door. After bowing to Hanju, he said, "Master, my cultivation level is stuck at the late-stage Zenith Heaven Golden Immortal Realm and can't increase anymore. Can you let me out?" Hao Tian said that he has a way to let me break through. Chapter 636 Heavenly God of Death, Descend to the Netherworld. Chapter 636 Heavenly God of Death, Descend to the Netherworld. Hanju didn't answer immediately. Long Hao had indeed fallen into a bottleneck. Not only him, but the cultivation speed of the other personal disciples had suddenly slowed down after entering the Zenith Heaven realm. It was very difficult for them to reach the pseudo-sage realm. Pseudo-sage was not something that could be achieved by cultivating diligently. The reason why Hanju could do it was that the system was the greatest opportunity. It was fine to let Long Hao out. Hanju happened to have an arrangement. After you go out, think of a way to unite the dragon race. Can you do it? Hanju asked. The dragon race had risen again, and had already become a force that couldn't be underestimated in the immortal world. Long Hao was pleasantly surprised and immediately accepted the order. He didn't have the confidence to come and ask this time. He didn't expect Hanju to really agree. That day, Long Hao was sent out by Hanju. The reason why he agreed was because of the evil Heavenly Emperor. Now that the sages had announced the Heavenly Tao's independence, the immortal world also needed more geniuses to show their support. Hanju hoped that the hidden sect disciples could occupy a large portion. After Long Hao left, the other disciples did not follow suit. Hanju called Suqi over. Suqi bowed respectfully. His cultivation had already reached the perfected Zenith Heaven Golden Immortal Realm, and even surpassed Tao Sovereign. The chaotic Fian Celestial's bloodline was not something that the chaotic physique could compare to. How have you been cultivating recently? Hanju asked. Suqi replied, "Not bad. Thank you for your help, Master. You let me enjoy a top-notch aptitude experience." Hanju asked, "Do you have the urge to go out?" Suqi had already grasped bad luck. He would no longer bring bad luck wherever he went like before. While Suqi had yet to rise, Hanju wanted him to fuse into the Heavenly Tao. Otherwise, even if Suqi attained the Tao in the future, he wouldn't be able to enter the Heavenly Tao. In this life, Suqi had always been in the Tao field, and had never entered the Heavenly Tao. Hanju had obtained a lot of Heavenly Tao merit before he attained the Tao. Hearing this, Suqi said carefully, "If Master doesn't let me out, I won't go out." Hanju smiled. "Then, do you want to go out?" Suqi was silent, not knowing how to answer. He had committed grave sins, and did not dare to go out again. It's fine to go out. You can help all living beings and make up for your sins. Hanju smiled. After Eastern Emperor Heaven Sage was chased away, the Heavenly Tao next was considered united. They wouldn't scheme more than before. After all, Heavenly Venerate Xiandu and the other sages had already announced that they would break up with the deity realm of the Ruins of End. It was impossible for spies to act like this. Suqi hurriedly said, "I'll follow Master's instructions." Hanju immediately waved his sleeve and brought Suqi to the 33rd heaven, landing in front of the Universal Hall. The door to the Universal Hall opened, and the master and disciple walked inside. Heavenly Venerate Xiandu looked at Suqi with a strange expression. "This aura, chaotic fiend celestial." Hanju came in front of him and said, "The Heavenly Tao and the deity realm of the Ruins of End are about to become enemies. If the Heavenly Tao wants to stay stable for a long time, it will definitely need to support its juniors. This is my disciple Suqi. You should have heard of his past. Now that he has been reborn, he was lucky to obtain the chaotic fiend celestial bloodline. I want him to fuse with the Heavenly Tao. Think of how he can atone for the previous calamity." Heavenly Venerate Xiandu looked at Suqi deeply. He didn't ask where the chaotic fiend celestial bloodline came from. If the Heavenly Tao wanted to become stronger, it had to rely on Hanju. Heavenly Venerate Xiandu said in a low voice, "He has the aura of death on him. Why don't we confer him the title of Heavenly God of Death, and let him control the dead in the world? He can be sent into the cycle of reincarnation to restrain Empress Hutu. The netherworld is the furthest from the Heavenly Tao, Empress Hutu has often left the heavenly Tao recently. I have my doubts. He was very calm when facing Hanju. Hanju said, sure. I'll leave this matter to you. You can contact the other sages. Yes. I'll give my merit to your disciple, and let him fuse into the heavenly Tao. Thank you. You're welcome, fellow Taoist Han. Hanju looked at Su Qi and said, stay here and wait for this senior to make arrangements for you. Su Qi hurriedly bowed. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website MyBox Novel. Thanks. Hanju disappeared. This was the first time Su Qi saw Heavenly Venerate Xian. He was very nervous, because the people who opened the Tao field here were all sages. Heavenly Venerate Xian revealed a rare smile. Don't be nervous. I'll tell you about the recent changes, and let you understand the situation of the heavenly Tao. Su Qi nodded. After returning to the 100-peak Immortal River, a line of words appeared in front of Hanju. Heavenly Venerate Xiandu's favorability towards you has increased. Current favorability, 6. 5 stars, another 6. 5 stars. How sensible. Hanju's favorability towards Heavenly Venerate Xiandu also increased. Heavenly Venerate Xiandu never plotted against Hanju behind his back. He had the courage to face invincible enemies, and even had his own principles and pursuits. Hanju was still very satisfied to cooperate with such a sage. In the next few days, the other sages' favorability toward Hanju increased one after another. It was probably because of Su Qi. The sages knew very well what a chaotic fiend celestial meant. Although they didn't understand how Hanju obtained the chaotic fiend celestial bloodline for Su Qi, there was one more chaotic fiend celestial in the heavenly Tao, and there would definitely be another safeguard in the future. A year later, Heavenly Venerate Xiandu's voice resounded through the myriad worlds. From today onwards, Hidden Sect disciple Su Qi will be conferred the title of Heavenly God of Death. He will control the Order of the Dead and guard the Netherworld. This is the arrangement of the sages and the heavenly Tao. All living beings can worship the new Heavenly God of Death. Everyone was in an uproar. Heavenly God of Death. Another Hidden Sect disciple. How many mighty figures were hidden in the Hidden Sect? Netherworld. Yang Tiandong, who was dealing with the ghosts, was stunned. He smiled and muttered, Junior Su Qi. He thought that Su Qi's arrival was Hanju's arrangement, and that he was sent to protect him. Recently, the Netherworld had indeed been a little chaotic. Some mysterious and unknown existences attacked the ghost servants from time to time. He had also been attacked, and still didn't know the other party's true appearance. That day, Su Qi descended into the Netherworld. The gods and ghost servants of the Netherworld went to receive him. With his cultivation at the perfected Zenith Heaven Golden Immortal Realm, Su Qi quickly convinced the crowd. He met Yang Tiandong and chatted with him, making the other kings of hell realize that they were on the same side. There were many kings of hell in the Netherworld. All of them had their own forces, and fought openly and secretly. Su Qi's arrival meant that Yang Tiandong was about to rise. Inside the Taoist temple, Hanju had just started cultivating when a notification suddenly appeared in front of him. Empress Huda sent you a dream. Do you accept? Hanju remained silent. He was on good terms with Empress Hutu. The matter of Su Qi had indeed oppressed her. She was probably here to question him. After hesitating for a moment, Hanju still chose to accept the dream. In the dream, the two of them appeared by the Yellow Spring. Empress Huda stared at him and asked, There's something wrong with Su Qi's aura. He has already become a chaotic fiend celestial? Hanju said, That's right. I accidentally obtained a fiend celestial body in the dark forbidden zone. Empress Huda said meaningfully, Snatching the chaotic fiend celestial bloodline is something that even the mighty figures of the primordial era can't do. Hanju, who are you? Are you also a chaotic fiend celestial? Hanju said, Oh, you found out. Is the Tao ancestor still alive? Is he supporting you from behind? Empress Huda changed the topic. Hanju remained silent. Empress Hutu was enlightened. I see. I will support Su Qi. The 6 paths of reincarnation belong to the heavenly Tao. The heavenly Tao is formed by my father Pengu. I will also do my best to protect the heavenly Tao. You don't have to worry that I will betray you. I left the heavenly Tao, because I was summoned by my brothers. Chapter 637 Supreme Power of Chaos. Chapter 637 Supreme Power of Chaos. Hanju asked in surprise. Didn't the ancestral magus die? Could it be that the ancestral magus was like Dijuan, an Eastern emperor, and did not truly die? Empress Huda said. Indeed, but I also heard their calls. Have you found them? No. Be careful, it might be a trap. Hanju reminded. Although Empress Hutu was not a heavenly Tao sage, her status in the heavenly Tao was very important. It would be troublesome if the netherworld was lost. Empress Huda said, I know. I won't leave again. I sent you a dream this time mainly to ask if you arranged for Su Qi. If so, I'll instill the providence of the 6 paths into his body to help increase his cultivation and let him control the power of reincarnation. Hanju was surprised. Empress Hutu was so generous? As if sensing his gaze, Empress Hutu explained, I've been in this position for countless years. My cultivation level has not increased, and I'm already numb. Su Qi is a chaotic fiend celestial. Perhaps under his lead, the cycle of reincarnation can go further. I don't believe the sages. I only believe you. The reason why I believe you is that I can sense the growth of the nether race. If the heavenly Tao needs a leader, you are the best choice in my eyes. Empress Huda's favorability towards you has increased. Current favorability. 6 stars. Empress Huda's favorability toward Hanju was already extremely high. However, it had been rising and falling over the years. Now it could still increase her favorability. It seemed that what she said was true. On careful thought, it made sense. If Empress Hutu was related to the deity realm of the ruins of End, how could she stop here? After splitting open the sky, how many batches of heavenly Tao sages had there been? Empress Hutu was still stuck here. Hanju said, I have no intention of becoming the master of the heavenly Tao. It's just that the heavenly Tao can protect me, so you can rest assured. I will do my best to protect it. Empress Hutu smiled in satisfaction. The two of them chatted for a while more before Empress Hutu cancelled the dream. Even Empress Hutu expressed that she wanted to protect the heavenly Tao. This time, the heavenly Tao had completely become united. Hanju sighed. Indeed, if he wanted the others to unite, he had to have absolute strength. If not for Hanju being strong enough, how could the sages be so united? Hanju had a sudden thought. He wanted to know what the outcome of the heavenly Tao would be if this continued. 10 billion years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue? Continue. Hanju entered the illusion. At this moment his heart skipped a beat. An illusion meant a result. There would be no fixed outcome if they remained peaceful. In other words, the heavenly Tao would still face danger. Hanju opened his eyes and discovered that he was in front of the Universal Hall. Countless figures were standing in front of the Universal Hall. All of them emitted a powerful aura. Hanju glanced at them. Wow. If you have problems with this website, please continue reading your novel on our new website myboxnovel.com. Thanks. More than 100 sages. The others were all pseudo-sages. How many years had it been since the heavenly Tao had developed to this point? Boom! The door to the Universal Hall opened, and Heavenly Venerate Xian Du and a group of sages walked out. A few of them made Hanju feel unfamiliar. Li Daokong, Shi Du Dao, and Fong Liang were among them. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du had a solemn expression. The other sages were the same. Are you prepared to face the supreme power of the chaos? Emperor Shao shouted in a low voice that resounded outside the 33rd heaven. I swear to protect the heavenly Tao. The mighty figures gathered near the Universal Hall replied in unison. This scene made Hanju think of the future of the heavenly court. Could it be that they were facing the same enemy? Furthermore, the heavenly court had lost. Hanju sensed something and suddenly looked up. He saw a pair of eyes appear in the darkness at the peak of the heavenly Tao, looking down at it. In front of these eyes, the entire 33rd heaven looked tiny. What a cold gaze. Even Hanju felt a chill in his heart. This was a suppression of cultivation realm. Hanju subconsciously lowered his head and didn't dare to look at the other party. If he was already like this, let alone the others. Everything is just fabricated. I want to create reality. A voice sounded. In an instant, A dazzling white light filled the 33rd heaven, causing everything to lose its color. The illusion shattered. It meant the heavenly Tao died. Hanju opened his eyes and frowned. He had heard that voice before. A long time ago. It had pulled him into a dream and said the same thing. Illusion? Who is it? Hanju frowned. This mysterious existence was definitely not born in the future. It might already be a powerful existence now. The heavenly court, which had swept through the deity realm of the ruins of End, could not stop him. The heavenly Tao that had formed its own rules was easily destroyed by him. That power was definitely not that of a transcendent Tao expert. It was definitely stronger. Hanju was filled with pressure. It wasn't terrifying to have many enemies. What was terrifying was not knowing who the enemies were. Hanju gave up and wanted to ask who the voice was. It involves karma that surpasses the current limits of the system. It cannot be deduced. Hanju frowned again. Hurry up and cultivate. The Fiend Celestial Army's plan had to be sped up. Hanju didn't appear in the illusion just now. What did this mean? Hanju guessed that he should have been frightened away or restrained. If it was the latter, it meant that the other party was not alone. No matter what, the other party couldn't come for the time being. Hanju adjusted his state of mind. His Tao heart was as stable as a Buddha, and he quickly entered his cultivation state. In the dark forbidden zone, in a place where meteors gathered, two figures quickly interwove. All sorts of mystical powers shattered the meteors, creating a huge commotion. In the distance, the evil heavenly emperor and the Black Heaven General floated in the air and watched quietly. Black Heaven General suddenly sighed. As expected of the chaotic fiend celestials, they are indeed powerful. They don't spend any effort cultivating their mystical powers. Their combat instincts are also extremely strong. Evil Heavenly Emperor smiled. They will be the capital for the heavenly court to rise. Black Heaven General, as a senior, you have to guide them more. The three heavenly generals will not change. If the three of you can unite, the deity realm of the ruins of End will sooner or later be trampled under my feet. Black Heaven General hurriedly replied, Of course. I won't be jealous or suppress them. The evil heavenly emperor did not reply, and continued to watch Han Tua and Etian fight. At this moment, a crack appeared on the evil heavenly emperor's right side. An eye appeared in the crack and stared at him. Your Majesty, I discovered that a little heavenly Tao had been broken through by the inauspicious evil. Should I accept the living beings of this little heavenly Tao? Come, connect them to the dark domain. You will be in charge of settling them down. The evil heavenly emperor replied. His gaze did not leave the two of them. Yes. The crack shrank, and the voice vanished. The evil heavenly emperor turned around and disappeared after saying, I'll leave them to you. Don't disappoint me. Black Heaven General hurriedly bowed. In the immortal world, another 1,000 years passed. These 1,000 years were extremely exciting. The sages preached the Tao in the Tao field one after another, and even took in many disciples to travel the heavens and teach Tao techniques. The sages after unity were still very impressive. In just 1,000 years, with their help, many prodigies appeared in the immortal world. The providence of the heavenly Tao had greatly increased. Not only that, but the sages had also established chaotic cities at the edge of the immortal world. There were already 9 chaotic cities now. It was worth mentioning that a race had been rapidly rising in the past 1,000 years. Human race. With Li Daokong's help, the self-imposed human race rose again. Chapter 638 Heavenly Tao Era. Laozi is the Dark Forbidden Lord? Chapter 638 Heavenly Tao Era. Laozi is the Dark Forbidden Lord? The human school still hasn't forgotten their roots. Hanju, who was observing the immortal world, sighed and smiled. Every time he entered seclusion for 1,000 years, he would look at the immortal world. Li Daokong's care for the humans comforted him. However, what really satisfied him was the actions of the sages. They were all thinking of ways to increase the strength of the heavenly Tao. At this moment, the sages no longer cared about the conflict between sections. They preached the Tao to all living beings, and did not force them to enter their sections. With them managing the heavenly Tao and making it stronger, Hanju could cultivate in peace. His gaze landed on Hanyu. This fellow was helping the human race. His status in the human race was now second only to the human emperor. Even the human emperor was polite to him. Han Yu, who had traveled the world alone, finally settled down. He also married, and had children in the human race. Han Ju didn't care about Han Yu's children. Their bloodline was too far apart. The reason why he liked Han Yu was that he looked like him. To be honest, he didn't have much feelings for Han Yu. It was worth mentioning that Long Hao actually started hanging out with Han Yu because of his appearance. This brat isn't controlling the dragon race. What's he doing there? Han Ju muttered to himself. He didn't want to warn him. If Long Hao went against his will, he would just expel him from the sect in the future. In any case, the evil heavenly emperor didn't care about his youngest son. Han Ju closed his eyes again and entered cultivation. Time passed quickly in the peaceful immortal world. 10,000 years passed like a dream. Han Ju was finally close to breaking through to the mid-stage of the Freedom Primordial Chaos realm. He hadn't broken through for nearly 30,000 years. He was really not used to it. His potential was still lacking. Han Ju sighed secretly. Of course, he was just joking. His breakthrough speed could revive the dead Pengu out of anger. Han Ju opened the emails to check. The immortal world was too peaceful, causing him to almost relax. He had to look at his friends to calm down. Your good friend Evil Heavenly Emperor was attacked by a mysterious Dao Devil, X8920312. Your son Han Tua was attacked by an inauspicious evil, X44032. Your disciple Zhou Fan obtained the Dao in your enemy's 7 Dao Sages' dream. His cultivation has increased greatly. Your good friend Shi Du Dao was attacked by your good friend Li Daokong, X3. Your disciple Su Qi has absorbed the providence of reincarnation and stepped into the pseudo-sage realm. Your good friend Heavenly Venerate Xian Du was cursed by a mysterious curse. Your good friend Ancestor Shitian has comprehended the great Dao and created a world. The last time he read the emails was 2,000 years ago. During this period of time, the deity realm of the ruins of End was still very lively. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du's curse attracted Han Ju's attention. He hoped that it was not a curse within the heavenly Dao. Below, he saw Ancestor Shitian splitting open the world. Han Ju frowned. After Ancestor Shitian created the world, his stance might change. Just like Li Muyi from before, he began to focus on his little heavenly Dao. However, Ancestor Shitian had yet to return. He couldn't affect the heavenly Dao for the time being. Ancestor Shitian was the strongest existence in the heavenly Dao. Other existences at his realm couldn't enter the heavenly Dao, while Ancestor Shitian lived outside the 33rd heaven all year round. He was equivalent to a heavenly Dao sage. As he read, all sorts of opportunities and breakthroughs dazzled his eyes. From the emails, it could be seen that the immortal world had begun to bloom. It had welcomed the most dazzling era in history. In the past, during peaceful times, sages did not appear. In the past, when sages appeared, a calamity descended. A mighty figure of the Chan school declared that this was the heavenly Dao era. All living beings focused on developing the heavenly Dao, indicating that the goal of all living beings in the heavenly Dao had shifted from internal strife to expanding the heavenly Dao. In the heavenly Dao era, sages occupied a lot of space. However, under the intentions of the other sages, the immeasurable merit divine might heavenly sage was worshipped by all living beings. Statues of the immeasurable merit divine might heavenly sage were erected in the myriad worlds, bringing Han Ju a huge amount of faith and transforming it into providence. Regarding this, Han Ju didn't absorb the providence. Instead, he suppressed it in the primordial world and kept it for future use. He didn't want to fuse with the heavenly Dao. If the heavenly Dao really couldn't block the attack one day and was destroyed, Han Ju would definitely escape. After reading the emails, Han Ju began to deduce who was cursing Heavenly Venerate Xian Du. 160 billion years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue? So much. It had to be a great Dao sage. Continue. A figure appeared in Han Ju's mind, and in front of him was Kundi, great Dao sage, immeasurable emperor, founder of the Buddhist sect. Because you severed his karma with Qiu Shilai, he has developed hatred towards you. Current hatred points, 6 stars. This fellow. Han Ju raised his eyebrows. He was about to sharpen his blade. After the chaotic deity pretended to die, the deity realm of the ruins of End was in chaos, and the heavenly Tao was not disturbed for the time being. Therefore, Hanju didn't continue cursing. However, Kundi attacked Heavenly Venerate Xiandu at this moment. He had to suppress him. He could even use this opportunity to mislead Kundi into thinking that the Dark Forbidden Lord was Laozi of the human school. The more Hanju thought about it, the more he felt that it was feasible. He wasn't afraid of causing trouble for him. After all, Laozi was the first disciple of the Tao ancestor, and his strength was unfathomable. He took out the Book of Misfortune and started cursing Kundi. 5 days later, his lifespan decreased rapidly. Of course, compared to his overall lifespan, it decreased like a turtle crawling. Deity realm of the ruins of End, Thunderclap Monastery. Kundi found Jia-in and said in a low voice, "The Dark Forbidden Lord is cursing me again." Jia-in frowned and let him meditate and circulate his energy. "Is he testing us, or is he going to kill us?" Jia-in asked. The Dark Forbidden Lord had the strength to curse the chaotic deity to death. If he was really targeting him, Kundi would definitely suffer. It was precisely because the Dark Forbidden Lord was too powerful that Jia-in believed that he didn't come from the heavenly Tao, but from the depths of the chaos. He warned Kundi not to provoke the Dark Forbidden Lord again. "I'm not sure," Kundi said with a dark expression. He looked angry, but he was extremely panicked inside. Even the chaotic deity couldn't stop him, let alone him. Jia-in asked, "Why did he suddenly start cursing you? Did you do something?" Facing Jia-in, Kundi did not hide anything. After knowing the reason, Jia-in cursed him. "Why are you cursing Heavenly Venerate Xiandu? Not to mention the Dark Forbidden Lord. Who can you provoke?" Although Laozi's been in seclusion, Xiandu is his only personal disciple. He will definitely protect him. Kundi was extremely aggrieved. He gritted his teeth and said, "Could the Dark Forbidden Lord be Laozi? The reason why I suspected it was Hanju previously was that he was ruining our plan. However, Heavenly Venerate Xiandu's betrayal means that the human school is suspicious." Heavenly Venerate Xiandu had just descended to the heavenly Tao and became friends with Hanju. "I even suspect that Hanju is supported by the human school. The new sage of the human school of the heavenly Tao has also joined Hanju. Heavenly Venerate Xiandu doesn't mind at all." Jia-in said faintly, "So what if he is? Don't you understand? The point is not who the Dark Forbidden Lord is, but that he can kill us." Kundi was silent. Jia-in sighed. "Ever since you left the heavenly Tao, your Tao heart has inflated, and you've lost your previous vigilance." Kundi said indignantly, "Then what should we do now? He's still cursing me." Jia-in stood up. "I'll go find Laozi. If he really wants to curse you to death, I can't help you." Chapter 639 Killing Another Powerful Enemy. Panic Caused by the Forbidden Lord. Chapter 639 Killing Another Powerful Enemy. Panic Caused by the Forbidden Lord. Hanju cursed Kundi while staring at his attributes panel. He had already lost 500 trillion years of his lifespan. "Because of your curse, your enemy Kundi's Tao heart was damaged." Hanju hesitated. Should he just kill this fellow? Kill. Wasn't 6 stars of hatred points a clear sign? Hanju gritted his teeth, and his eyes turned sinister. The Book of Misfortune emitted a black light that shone on his face. He looked so terrifying and evil. Hanju's lifespan decreased rapidly. 1 quadrillion years. Because of your curse, your enemy Kundi developed mental demons. 2 quadrillion years. Because of your curse, your enemy Kundi's Tao heart shattered and his cultivation fell greatly. 3 quadrillion years. Because of your curse, your enemy Kundi has abandoned karma and is completely entranced. Your enemy Kundi was sealed by your enemy Jia-in, and his cultivation turned into nothingness. The moment the last email appeared, Hanju's curse missed. It made him feel as if he had suddenly stepped on air. Hanju put away the Book of Misfortune and asked in his mind, "How long will it take for Kundi to recover his cultivation?" 10 billion years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue? His value had decreased so quickly. Hanju was in a good mood. It's immeasurable. At least, it takes longer than the time it took him to cultivate to his current realm. He was crippled. Hanju smiled. Although he didn't curse him to death, he had at least killed a potential enemy. 6 stars of hatred was too blinding. Hanju's interpersonal relationships were ranked according to hatred points. He had to stay vigilant. Enemies were more important than good friends. After all, his enemy might take his life. Hanju rested for a few hours and quickly entered his cultivation state. He wanted to break through as soon as possible. Outside the 33rd Heaven Universal Hall, the sages gathered. Other than Hanju, even Empress Hutu was among them. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du had a strange expression as he said, "I just learned something." He looked at Qiu Shilai. Qiu Shilai was expressionless and surprised. Could it be related to him? The South Extreme Heavenly Venerate asked, "Is it good or bad?" The other sages were also nervous. Ever since they had broken up with the deity realm of the Ruins of End, they had been guarding against sudden attacks. Fortunately, it had always been very peaceful. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du took a deep breath and said, "The ancestor of the Buddhist sect, Kundi Sacred, was cursed by the dark forbidden lord and died." The sages widened their eyes. The Buddhist sect had always been a major force in the immortal world. Its legends were even widespread. Who was Kundi? He was the Tao ancestor's disciple. The sages also knew that an ancient mighty figure like Kundi was very likely already comparable to the great Tao. Such a powerful mighty figure died just like that. Qiu Shilai was moved and secretly shocked. Ever since he had been subdued by Hanju, he had lost his karma with Kundi. For this, Kundi had even cursed him in his dreams, without the bearing of a senior. Qiu Shilai really didn't expect him to die. Sure, Du Dao was the happiest among them, but he didn't show it. It was the dark forbidden lord again. How strong was he? Li Daokong asked. What's the dark forbidden lord's attitude towards our heavenly Tao? Why does he want to curse Kundi to death? Heavenly Venerate Xian Du said, I'm not sure about the dark forbidden lord's goal, but there's one thing that shouldn't be wrong. The dark forbidden lord supports the heavenly Tao. My master told me that Jie-in found him and begged for mercy on Kundi's behalf. Jie-in thought that my master was the dark forbidden lord. During this period of time, Kundi had been pretending to be the dark forbidden lord to curse me. I just didn't say it. Heavenly Venerate Wufa snorted. I was also cursed. So it was done by Kundi. That dark forbidden lord might not necessarily support the heavenly Tao. He just can't stand Kundi's impersonation. It's also possible. No matter what, the dark forbidden lord isn't targeting us, right? Heavenly Venerate Xian Du nodded with a smile. Back then, when he chose to support the heavenly Tao, he had been under immense pressure. He didn't expect things to go smoothly. He only needed to manage the heavenly Tao well. The powerful enemies were all blocked by other mighty figures. What does your master think of the heavenly Tao? Feng Liang suddenly asked. The sages couldn't help but look at Heavenly Venerate Xian Du. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du had indeed mentioned his master just now. Didn't he say that they had already broken up? Heavenly Venerate Xian Du said, My master Laozi has been cultivating in seclusion. He's not in charge of the current human school. My master cultivates the Grand Supreme Heartless Tao and does not support the heavenly Tao, but he will also not support the deity realm of the Ruins of End. However, the fact that he can tell me this is also a good signal. If I can rope my master into the heavenly Tao camp, the heavenly Tao will be safe. My master is the #1 person below the Tao ancestor. As long as he gives the order, the mighty figures of the deity realm of the Ruins of End will not dare to act recklessly. Speaking of him, Heavenly Venerate Xian Du's tone was filled with respect. The sages did not say anything. They wouldn't question Laozi's strength. However, it might not be a good thing if he descended into the heavenly Tao. At that time, wouldn't the heavenly Tao be the heavenly Tao of the human school? The reason why they were united now was because they had a common enemy. If Laozi joined, there would be no powerful enemy. Shi Dudao caught the gazes of the sages and smiled mockingly. He suddenly felt Li Daokong staring at him, and immediately retracted his smile. This brat. Shi Dudao was furious when he saw Li Daokong. This fellow came to fight with him whenever he had the time. It was really annoying. Emperor Shao said, The ancient desolate seal is about to break. I can already sense the aura of the primordial devil race. Primordial devil ancestor. He was suppressed by the Tao ancestor in the ancient desolate, and was the first batch of prisoners. Empress Huta said. Reincarnation can also sense the ancient desolate's aura. Also, she hesitated for a moment before continuing. Are my brothers also sealed in the ancient desolate? I sensed their call earlier. The sages were moved. The ancestral magi had not completely perished? Impossible. I saw the deaths of the ancestral magi with my own eyes. They don't have souls. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du shook his head. He suddenly thought of something, and his expression changed. The South Extreme Heavenly Venerate asked, What's wrong? What did you think? Heavenly Venerate Xian Du frowned. Could the mighty figures who died in the past be sucked away by some great mystical power and suppressed in the ancient desolate? Currently, we only know that the Heavenly Sect Master and the primordial devil race are suppressed in the ancient desolate. But in fact, the ancient desolate is very big. It's even wider than the deity realm of the ruins of End. Such a huge territory should have many mighty figures imprisoned within. The methods of the previous Tao ancestor are unimaginable. He hid the truth of the primordial purple chi from us. Could he also be hiding the secrets of the ancient desolate? The sages also frowned. Heavenly Venerate Wufa said, In that case, could the dark forbidden lord be the Tao ancestor? Or someone under the Tao ancestor? The South Extreme Heavenly Venerate asked, If he's the Tao ancestor, why did he design to release the cage he created? It didn't make sense. The sages looked at Feng Liang. The Tao ancestor's avatar was here. Feng Liang's expression darkened. It was unknown what he was thinking. Seeing his expression, the sage's heart skipped a beat. Empress Huta suddenly said, I previously received a dream from father when I was cultivating. Her words shocked the sages. Empress Hutu was an ancestral magus in the past. Who was the ancestral magus father? The world creator giant god Pangu. Chapter 640 Curse Fiend Celestial, Transcendent Rule. Chapter 640 Curse Fiend Celestial, Transcendent Rule. What did your father tell you? The South Extreme Heavenly Venerate asked carefully. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du also stared at her. Empress Hutu had a complicated expression as she said faintly, He said that the chaotic calamity before the creation of the world is about to make a comeback. At that time, it will be even more terrifying than the 3000 chaotic fiend celestial era he was in. The universal hall was silent. 3000 chaotic fiend celestial era. The sages felt a chill. The current chaos also had the existence of chaotic fiend celestials. These chaotic fiend celestials were all supreme existences that surpassed the 3000 laws, and were unrestrained however. There was only a number of chaotic fiend celestials. They were all tenacious existences who had survived the fiend celestial era. Did Empress Huta mean that these chaotic fiend celestials were about to trigger the chaotic calamity? Chaotic calamity? Great Tao immeasurable calamity. The sages thought of the words left behind by the Tao ancestor before he vanished, and felt even more terrified. Their ability could only protect the heavenly Tao. If the great Tao calamity affected the heavenly Tao, could they withstand it? I need the jade slip of creation. Senior, please help me find it. Feng Liang suddenly said. His expression was solemn. The jade slip of creation was a supreme treasure used by the Tao ancestor to attain the Tao. It was comparable to the giant god Panga's heaven-opening axe. The South Extreme Heavenly Venerate asked, What for? Feng Liang said in a low voice, Let the heavenly Tao break through and expand to devour the chaos, thereby stopping the great Tao immeasurable calamity. When the Tao ancestor chose me, he mentioned the ancient desolate. He said that there was an extremely terrifying power hidden in the ancient desolate. The reason why he disappeared was to find a way to resist that power. For this, the Tao ancestor did not hesitate to transform into billions of Dharma idols and walk through the chaos. He was one of them. Now that the seal of the ancient desolate is about to be broken, the terrifying existence that the Tao ancestor is wary of can come out at any time. At that time, not only the deity realm of the ruins of End, but the heavenly Tao will also die. The sages were all shocked. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du asked in a low voice, Is that true? Fang Liang said. I, Fang Liang, swear to the heavenly Tao that if I lie to you, the providence of the heavenly Tao will dissipate on its own. The sages did not say a word and fell into deep thought. This conversation shocked them. They realized that things were not as simple as they had imagined. Other than resisting the deity realm of the ruins of End, they had to be wary of existences of a higher level. In the depths of the chaos, a ball of black aura was surging and gradually becoming larger. The black aura gradually turned into black flames, and a pair of bright red eyes suddenly opened in the fire heart. Who am I? Hanju. Misfortune. Dark Forbidden Lord. The black flames emitted a hoarse voice. Hearing it carefully, it was actually somewhat similar to Hanju's voice. The black flames produced a powerful suction force, stirring up a strong wind, and forming a huge vortex. Chaotic chi from all directions surged into the black flames. As time passed, the black flames grew larger and larger. After an unknown period of time, when the black flames were larger than a world, a figure flew over. It was a green-robed Taoist. He stood on a wooden sword with his hands behind his back. The green-robed Taoist suddenly stopped and looked at the black flames. What a strong aura of misfortune. Misfortune is invisible and colorless. Why is it condensing here? The green-robed Taoist muttered to himself. Raising his right hand to deduce, his face suddenly turned pale. The distant black flames suddenly rushed towards the green-robed Taoist at an extremely fast speed. The green-robed Taoist glared as his robes fluttered. A terrifying aura blocked the black flames, causing his speed to decrease. Humph! Who cares what you are? Since you're an evil creature, I'll kill you. The green-robed Taoist smiled disdainfully. Countless vines grew from the wooden sword under his feet, and quickly surrounded the black flames. Flowers of different colors grew from the vines. 10,000 flowers bloomed at the same time. Beams of light shot out from the pistol, piercing through the black flames, and causing them to be riddled with holes. The black flames roared venomously. The green-robed Taoist frowned in thought. The black flames suddenly exploded, turning into a black mist that filled the air. Then it shrank towards the green-robed Taoist at a greater speed. The green-robed Taoist waved his hand, and dermic powers erupted. It was as if the sun had exploded. The scorching dermic powers caused the chaotic space to boil. But the black mist swept past his dermic powers and quickly drowned him. In the black mist, the green-robed Taoist panicked. What's going on? What power is this? It can actually imprison space. The green-robed Taoist kept casting spells as he roared in his heart. A strange sneer came from all directions, as if thousands of ghosts were laughing at him. The situation was terrifying. 100 Peak Immortal River. 732 years had passed since Hanju finished cursing. He was cultivating when lines of words suddenly appeared in front of him. Detected that you caused the birth of the Curse Fiend Celestial. Because the Curse Fiend Celestial is filled with hatred and jealousy towards you, you have the following choices. 1. Go to the depths of the chaos immediately, and kill the Curse Fiend Celestial to prevent future trouble. You can obtain a Great Tao Fragment, a mystical power inheritance, and a Creation Spirit Stone. 2. Cultivate in a low-profile manner, and stay away from the Curse Fiend Celestial. You can obtain a Great Tao Fragment, and a Heavenly Tao Spirit Stone. Hanju was stunned. Curse Fiend Celestial? What the hell? Could it be because he had cursed too many times? Hanju didn't make a choice immediately, and cautiously used the derivation function. I want to know how the Book of Misfortune is related to the Curse Fiend Celestial. 100 billion years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue? Continue. The power of the Book of Misfortune has touched upon a certain transcendent rule. The Curse Fiend Celestial itself is the grudge of the primordial chaotic Fiend Celestial. It was born because of the fluctuations of the transcendent rule. Its mission is to capture you, kill you, and replace you. The Curse Fiend Celestial cannot find you through the Book of Misfortune. So ridiculous. What is the transcendent rule? It involves karma that surpasses the current limits of the system. It cannot be deduced. Hanju remained silent. He asked, can the Curse Fiend Celestial enter the Heavenly Tao? Not for the time being, unless he becomes a Heavenly Tao life form. The second question did not deduct his lifespan. Hanju asked again, Can I use the Book of Misfortune to kill him? 100 billion years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue? Continue. The Book of Misfortune can't kill the Curse Fiend Celestial. It can only provide the Curse Fiend Celestial with a stronger power. So pervert it. Hanju was shocked. Can the Curse Fiend Celestial kill me now? Not for the time being. Hanju heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that the Curse Fiend Celestial had yet to become powerful. It was just that its identity was special and was only worth 100 billion years. He couldn't use the Book of Misfortune to curse the Curse Fiend Celestial, and Hanju couldn't leave the Heavenly Tao. He could only wait for it to attack. Hanju took out the Book of Misfortune with a complicated expression. Transcendent rule. There are rules higher than the Great Tao. Hanju thought silently. He thought of the future that had developed. Could the supreme power that the Heavenly Tao and the Heavenly Court face be related to this kind of transcendent rule? Suddenly thinking of something, Hanju asked again, how long will it take for the Curse Fiend Celestial to attack the Heavenly Tao and find trouble with me? 100 billion years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue? Continue. According to his speed of becoming stronger, it will take him about 3 billion years to forcefully enter the Heavenly Tao. Chapter 641 Breakthrough. 160,000 years old. Chapter 641 Breakthrough. 160,000 years old. 3 billion years. Not bad. Hanju heaved a sigh of relief. He suddenly thought of another question and asked again. If I use the Book of Misfortune to curse others, will it also strengthen the Curse Fiend Celestial? If that was the case, wouldn't the Book of Misfortune be useless? No, Hanju heaved a sigh of relief. If not for the Book of Misfortune, he wouldn't have been able to kill those powerful enemies that far exceeded him. Hanju immediately made his choice. You choose to cultivate in a low-profile manner, and stay away from the Curse Fiend Celestial. You will obtain a Great Tao Fragment, and a Heavenly Tao Spirit Stone. He took out the Book of Misfortune, and the Heavenly Tao Spirit Stone, and started to fuse them. Several months later, the Book of Misfortune was successfully upgraded. It transformed from a Freedom Numinous Treasure to a Freedom Supreme Treasure. After successfully upgrading the Dharma Treasure, Hanju entered cultivation. Next, he wanted to break through to the mid-stage of the Freedom Primordial Chaos Realm. The birth of the Curse Fiend Celestial did not affect the immortal world. Ever since the sages discussed about Kundi's death, the various sage sects began to take action. The sage sects each sent disciples to the various mortal worlds to teach Tao techniques. Not only was the immortal world developing rapidly, but the mortal worlds were also the same. The chaotic cities of the immortal world began to recruit living beings to search the nearby dark forbidden zone and create a teleportation formation to help the immortal world expand. For a time, the entire Heavenly Tao fell into a busy state. The sages did not stop and continued preaching more, and more Zenith Heaven Golden Immortals appeared. In addition to the existence of the Heavenly Tao Providence Board, their reputation spread very quickly. 5,000 years passed in a flash. Hanju's seclusion ended, and he began to preach the Tao to the hidden sect disciples. The great Tao of extreme origin covered the 100-peak immortal river, while his gaze looked at the immortal world. Hanyu had just reached the deity realm not long ago. He was now one of the 10 great war gods of the human race. His providence was connected to the human race. Ever since Li Daokong became a sage, the providence of the human race had increased steadily. They had already entered the strongest 10 races in the immortal world. After the demons dispersed, the immortal world became peaceful. The various races were busy cultivating and had no time to fight for territory. The sages had always been preaching a philosophy that the immortal world would become larger and larger. There was no point in fighting for territory now. Hanju didn't expect much from Hanyu, but he still looked forward to his development. If Hanyu could become one of the prodigies of the immortal world, Hanju would naturally be happy. Unfortunately, if Hanyu was tied down by the humans, they might tie him down in the future, preventing him from doing whatever he wanted. Hanju turned his gaze to the netherworld. The netherworld was also developing. From time to time, Empress Hutu would preach the Tao to the ghost deities and build a chaotic city at the end of the Yellow Spring. It was said that the end of the Yellow Spring was the weakest point of the heavenly Tao. If the enemy wanted to invade the heavenly Tao, the netherworld would definitely be the best place to attack. In addition, ever since the Dark Sage King died, the immortal world's reincarnation mystic realm had been sealed by the sages. The entrance was guarded by pseudo-sages all year round, and no living beings were allowed to approach. Everything was on track. Hanju smiled in satisfaction and started to check his emails. Even someone as strong as Ancestor Shitian was still being attacked by the inauspicious evil, mysterious Tao devils, and mysterious mighty figures. It was truly tragic. Indeed, only the heavenly Tao was the safest. Hanju thought silently. The curse fiend celestial has developed hatred towards you. Current hatred points 6. 5 stars. This notification appeared in front of him, indicating that the intelligence of the cursed fiend celestial had already been born. Hanju didn't care. 100 years later, the lecture ended, and he continued cultivating. 500 years later, he finally had the chance to break through. Hanju began to break through in seclusion. Breaking through a minor realm wouldn't encounter a bottleneck. Hanju only needed to be patient. 80 years later, Hanju successfully broke through. The long-awaited breakthrough touched him inexplicably. Name: Hanju. Lifespan: 162,120/3 octillion 49 septillion 999 sextillion 999 quintillion 999 quadrillion 999 trillion 999 billion 999 million 999,999 race. Primordial fiend celestial immeasurable emperor. Cultivation: mid-stage of the freedom primordial chaos realm. Perfect sage. Technique: primordial chaos reincarnation great Tao. Heavenly cycle body tempering, great Tao of life and death, great Tao of karma, great Tao of extreme origin unknowingly. Hanju was already 160,000 years old. He could be called an ancient existence by all living beings. Hanju sighed as he consolidated his cultivation. At the same time, outside the immortal world, towards the north, a majestic sea of fire attacked from the darkness. The sea of flames was unknown. In the torrential flames, figures emitting a terrifying aura stepped on the flames. In the lead was a burly figure that was 1,000,000 feet tall. He wore purple-black heavy armor and held a spear that was longer than his body in each of his 4 arms. His waist was surrounded by fire dragons that constantly breathed out, looking sinister and terrifying. Children of the flame race, the heavenly Tao is ahead. As long as we break through the heavenly Tao, the flame race won't have to hide anymore. The 1,000,000-foot-long figure roared angrily. His voice alerted the chaotic city at the edge of the immortal world. Before he could finish speaking, the billions of flame race living beings swept over like a wave. The chaotic city was shocked. They gathered the disciples of the various sects to prepare for battle. A world-shattering battle erupted. Outside the 33rd heaven, the south extreme heavenly venerate walked out of his Tao field. He waved his right hand and wanted to cast a spell to directly destroy the flame race, but his expression changed. The moment his dermic powers left the heavenly Tao, they were negated by a domineering force. An existence beyond the sages was lurking in the dark. Don't interfere in battles below the sage realm. A cold voice sounded, causing the south extreme heavenly venerate's face to turn ashen. At this moment, a sword chi shot out from the universal hall and vanished into the darkness. You don't know your limits. The cold voice sounded again. Heavenly Venerate Xian, Du's sword chi dissipated as soon as it left the heavenly Tao. Soon, the sages gathered in the universal hall. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du's expression was dark. That person just now is called Undying Tao. He was a powerful existence at the same time as the Tao ancestor, and is already on par with the great Tao. You can't defeat him. The south extreme heavenly venerate frowned. I've already ordered the Jie school to resist the flame race. However, the flame race is very strong. They have more than 10 pseudo-sages, and more than 1,000 zenith heaven golden immortals. Damn it, where did this flame race come from? Heavenly venerate Wufa said. The chaos is endless. There are also powerful races hidden. The reason why Undying Tao appeared was to stop the sages from interfering and facilitate the invasion of the flame race. The heavenly Tao can only isolate existences above the sages. The flame race has no sages. As long as they break through the defense line, they can enter the heavenly Tao. If they slaughter all the living beings in the heavenly Tao and abandon the heavenly Tao's providence, the heavenly Tao will die. Everyone, give the order to be on guard. Other than the battle with the flame race, the other chaotic cities have to increase their manpower. Understood. The sages sent voice transmissions. Emperor Shao asked, should we ask Hanju to help? Heavenly Venerate Xiandu said, Undying Tao is an existence that far exceeds the Dark Sage King. If fellow Taoist Han is confident, he will naturally attack. In the previous Heavenly Devil calamity, Tao Heavenly Devil came from Undying Tao's subordinate. His hatred for the Heavenly Tao is deeply rooted. He has always felt that he is stronger than the Tao ancestor. But the Heavenly Tao did not choose him. The other sages frowned. Sure, Du Dao muttered. Perhaps I shouldn't have attained the Tao so early. He was confident in his strength, and was invincible among those of the same realm. Even Li Daokong was not his match. But he could only be a spectator now. Chapter 642 Ancient Battle. Chapter 642 Ancient Battle. Humph. Li Daokong snorted. He was unhappy with Sure Du Dao's confidence. Sure Du Dao ignored him. The other sages were already used to the conflict between the two new sages. Heavenly Venerate Xiandu said, all of you, pass Dharma treasures to your disciples. The flame race is coming menacingly. The immortal world might not be able to withstand them. The sages nodded. At the same time, the battle in the north outside the immortal world had already erupted. 10 pseudo-sages and 1,000 zenith heaven golden immortals directly swept through chaotic city. A pseudo-sage from the Buddhist sect used a great mystical power to isolate the battlefield, but he was quickly destroyed by the combined forces of the flame race's pseudo-sages. The situation was not optimistic. The sage sects sent a large number of disciples to the battlefield. Countless cultivators appeared in the sky of the immortal world, and all of them flew in the same direction. The scene was extremely spectacular. This matter shocked the entire immortal world. All living beings did not understand what was happening an hour later. Heavenly Venerate Xiandu's voice resounded through the myriad worlds. The chaos is attacking the heavenly Tao. The flame race is attacking with billions of sinister devils. The other party has an existence that surpasses the sages. To stop the sages from interfering, the cultivators of the myriad worlds must go and provide assistance. This will be the first defensive battle in the history of the heavenly Tao, where all living beings work together. If the heavenly Tao is broken by the flame race, all living beings will be in danger. The heavenly Tao will be in danger. The various races and sects have to work together to survive. With that, powerful figures flew down from the 33rd heaven. These were almighty figures who had listened to the Tao in the sage Tao fields. On the other side, the 100-peak immortal river was also alarmed. The personal disciples came to the Taoist temple. They couldn't sit still if the heavenly Tao was in trouble. The hidden sect had already supported many factions, which meant that Hanju wanted to take root in the immortal world. The disciples knelt in front of the door and waited uneasily. After a while, Hanju's voice floated out. Li Xianao, recruit disciples above the deity realm and volunteer to protect the heavenly Tao. The personal disciples can also go out. It happened so suddenly that Hanju had no choice but to change his stance. He had just checked the battlefield. The foundation of the flame race was extremely terrifying. There were more than 1,000 zenith heavens. There were fewer zenith heaven golden immortals in the entire heavenly Tao than in the flame race. It was really a matter of life and death. Yes, Li Xianao stood up excitedly and started to gather the disciples. The personal disciples dispersed, leaving the black hell chicken behind. The black hell chicken shouted, Master, can the heavenly Tao win? Why do you ask? Should we prepare to run away? The black hell chicken's voice trembled. Hanju remained silent. The flame race was indeed menacing. However, it was still not a life and death matter for him. He could try to stop them first. If he really couldn't, Hanju would directly use the invocation Tao and summon all the disciples back to run away. The array formation of the Tao field itself could resist the existence of the great Tao. Even without the heavenly Tao, Hanju might not die directly. Run if he couldn't win. The chaos was huge. There was definitely a place to hide. Hanju said, "Run? Where to?" The black hell chicken said, "Wherever master goes, I'll go. Get lost." Okay. The black hell chicken flew away. On that day, Li Xian'ao calculated that there were 20,000 deity realm disciples. Among the personal disciples, other than the black hell chicken and the chaotic heavenly dog, everyone was willing to go and fight the flame race. Among them were Dao Sovereign, Zhao Xinyuan, Jiang Yi Chu Shuren, Li Xian'ao, and 5 other zenith heavens. Hanju waved his hand and sent them out. After that he looked up. The war at the edge of the heavenly Tao was already very tragic. A large number of cultivators had died. The flame race also suffered heavy casualties, but they couldn't hold on to their numbers. Hanju came to the 33rd heaven. He quickly traveled through the edge of the heavenly Tao and frantically used the simulation trial to test. Several breaths later, he finally detected undying Tao. This fellow had a 2-star hatred towards him. It appeared when the Dark Sage King died. Hanju returned to the Taoist temple. He directly entered the simulation trial and fought with undying Tao. He was defeated in less than 10 breaths of time. Hanju tried his best, but still couldn't block undying Tao's domineering dermic powers. He didn't try again. The difference in strength was not something that could be reversed with experience. Hanju suddenly sighed. Without the ancestor, the situation of the heavenly Tao is really different. In the past, when Ancestor Shitian was around, even if the Tao destruction mystical power eliminated 90% of the living beings, the chaos did not dare to rashly invade the heavenly Tao. Once the ancestor left, all sorts of monsters appeared. Hanju hesitated to curse undying Tao to death. Would this expose his identity? Damn it! When the heavenly Tao perished, the danger would be even greater than exposing his identity as the Dark Forbidden Lord. Hanju looked up. As the experts of the immortal world joined the battlefield, the speed at which the defensive line retreated began to decrease. However, it was still unable to block the attacks of the flame race. The morale of the flame race was too strong. Even their weakest member risked his life. Hanju discovered that the middle-level forces of the flame race were not much. They were severely lacking in the deity realm. Most of the living beings were between Grand Unity Earth Immortal and Grand Unity True Immortal. It seemed that the development of the flame race was very abnormal. It might be related to their cultivation techniques. From the looks of it, the immortal world might not lose. Hanju decided to wait and see. It just so happened that the living beings of the heavenly Tao needed a calamity to unite. As more and more cultivators headed to the outer battlefield of the heavenly Tao, rumors of various battlefields spread in the immortal world and the myriad worlds. It's said that the flame race has more than 1,000 zenith heaven golden immortals. So many. It's too tragic. The netherworld is about to be filled. Is the flame race that terrifying? Didn't you pay attention to the heavenly Tao Providence board? Several mighty figures in the top 20 have lost their rankings. They almost died on the battlefield and had no choice but to use Providence to protect their souls. All sorts of terrifying rumors spread wildly. All living beings were terrified, but the calamity of the world was coming. Countless living beings were also aroused and rushed to the battlefield. They would rather die without regrets. More and more races began to issue orders. All the disciples of the immortal realm had to participate. It was the same for the newly risen humans, because already experts from the flame race had stepped into the immortal world. The flame race was unstoppable. However, they could only step on it and could not advance anymore. In the extreme north of the immortal world, a mighty figure that shone with light stood proudly under the sky. He kept waving his horsetail whisk, causing monstrous dermic powers to form terrifying hurricanes. They spread out in an arc and occupied an area of 800 million kilometers, preventing the pseudo-sage of the flame race from breaking into the depths of the immortal world. This mighty figure was the 3 pure sacred ancestor. Now that the immortal world was in trouble, Hanju naturally didn't forget him. The three pure sacred ancestor was invincible in the immortal world. Among the pseudo-sages, it was definitely the strongest existence. It was the most suitable to guard the border of the immortal world. Outside the 33rd heaven, seeing the three pure sacred ancestor attack, the sages heaved a sigh of relief. The south extreme heavenly venerate muttered to himself, "Strange? Li Muyi is dead. Who is the three pure sacred ancestor listening to now?" Sect Master Tianju said, "Can't he have the intention to protect the heavenly Tao?" The south extreme heavenly venerate felt that it made sense, and no longer doubted it. He continued to pay attention to the battlefield. The three pure sacred ancestor blocked all the pseudo-sages of the flame race alone, giving the immortal world a chance to rest. Chapter 643 The Ancestor Returns, Body and Soul Extermination. Chapter 643 The Ancestor Returns, Body and Soul Extermination. Although the three pure sacred ancestor stopped the pseudo-sages of the flame race, he couldn't kill them. The leader of the flame race raised his four arms and shouted angrily, "Members of the flame race, impart the providence of the great Tao to me." His voice not only resounded throughout the battlefield, but even the entire immortal world could hear it. It was deafening. More than 100 million flame race, living beings, sacrificed their providence. Streaks of light flew out from their bodies and rushed towards their leader. The scene was magnificent and illuminated the dark space. Because the leader of the flame race had retreated outside the immortal world, the three pure sacred ancestor could not hurt him. The three pure sacred ancestor frowned. The pseudo-sages of the immortal world, who had the chance to rest, attacked again. They couldn't let the leader of the flame race become stronger. The three pure sacred ancestors' power quickly spread throughout the immortal world, making all living beings heave a sigh of relief. Fortunately, there was such an expert in the immortal world. Hanju had been watching the battle, delaying his cultivation. This couldn't continue. Hanju sighed and silently took out the Book of Misfortune. The Dark Forbidden Lord has to save the world again. His fame and fortune are all occupied by you sages. I'm the one taking the blame. Sigh. How can there be a savior as low profile as me in the world? Hanju started cursing undying Tao. 5 days later, Hanju's lifespan began to decrease. In just 5 days, countless people died in the battle at the edge of the immortal world. Negative karma sword. The pseudo-sages of the flame race began to split up and lead the troops to attack, causing the three pure sacred ancestor to be unable to take care of all the enemies. A group of flame race living beings had already entered the immortal world. The leader was a pseudo-sage with 50 zenith heavens under him. The immortal world was in chaos. The sages had a headache. The morale of the flame race was too strong, even stronger than the living beings in the immortal world. All of them charged like mad. As long as there was a breath left, they would fight 100 battles without stopping. Hanju didn't pay attention to the immortal world. He stared at his attributes panel and emails. 1 trillion years of lifespan. 10 trillion years. 100 trillion years. 500 trillion years. Because of your curse, your enemy Undying Tao's Tao heart has been damaged. Continue. Since he wanted to curse, he would send this guy off in one go. It was best to intimidate the deity realm of the ruins of End. Hanju cursed with all his might. 800 trillion years. 1 quadrillion years. 2 quadrillion years. Because of your curse, your enemy Undying Tao's Tao is destroyed. His providence is in chaos and his soul is damaged. Your enemy Undying Tao was attacked by your good friend Ancestor Shitian, and was severely injured. Ancestor Shitian had returned? Hanju immediately stopped. Since Ancestor Shitian had made a move, he didn't have to waste his lifespan. He looked up and saw that outside the heavenly Tao, the space occupied by Undying Tao was shattered. Endless chaotic lightning interwove, and Undying Tao's aura rapidly faded. He felt another vast aura. Ancestor Shitian. The ancestor had returned at a critical moment. Heavenly Venerate Xian, Du also discovered this matter. With a wave of his sleeve, he directly destroyed the headquarters of the flame race, which was outside the heavenly Tao. Tens of millions of flame race living beings turned to dust one after another. They were unable to resist at all. The living beings who had perished looked at the dust ahead and fell into despair. The despair did not last long. In less than 3 breaths of time, the tens of millions of living beings of the flame race were all dead. Not even a remnant soul was left. It could be seen that Heavenly Venerate Xian Du had attacked in anger after enduring for a long time. In the immortal world, the leader of the flame race, who was still fighting, sensed something and suddenly turned around. His eyes instantly turned red. No! The flame race member roared hoarsely and quickly waved his 4 spears, causing rolling flames to drown countless cultivators of the immortal world. He wasn't the only one. The other flame race mighty figures also discovered the situation behind them. The flame race has nowhere to run. Once we leave, we will be slaughtered by sages. Children, we can only kill until the end. The flame race will continue to grow stronger and not fear death. Kill! The leader of the flame race roared. His aura soared, shocking the entire immortal world. The ground of the endless immortal world shook violently, as if the end of the world was coming. The 3 pure sacred ancestors snorted and drew a circle with both hands. 3 mighty divine shadows appeared in front of him. They each held a sword and slashed with it. Green, black, and white sword chi erupted. Dense, they filled the world, drowning the leader of the flame race. The mighty figures of the immortal world sensed that the flame race outside the heavenly Tao had been eradicated by a sage. Excited, they all tried their best to fight again. Hanju was paying attention to the emails. What a pity! Undying Tao was only severely injured and not killed. The ancestor was still a little lacking. He actually couldn't kill this fellow. Hanju had spent 2 quadrillion years of his lifespan. The more Hanju thought about it, the more depressed he became. No. He had to kill Undying Tao. Although 2-star hatred points was not high, this fellow had always wanted to destroy the heavenly Tao. Without it, he would be in danger. Hanju took out the Book of Misfortune and continued cursing. 5 days later, his lifespan began to decrease. At the same time, the flame race was already exhausted. Their weakest living beings were Zenith Heaven Golden Immortals, with less than 300 members. They had nowhere to run and could only fight to the death. In the north of the immortal world, the ground was dyed red as blood rained down from the sky. The leader of the flame race stood on the ground like a huge peak that reached into the clouds. Above the sea of clouds, he was surrounded by thousands of mighty figures from the immortal world. Even deity realm existences dared to surround him. The leader of the flame race was covered in blood and panting heavily. His scarlet eyes were filled with anger. The flame race lost. The leader of the flame race felt sorrow. After the immortal world knew that they were about to win, they were all extremely excited and mocked the flame race. You dare to invade the immortal world with just you? What flame race? I've never heard of them. Where's your sage protector? Did he run away? Poor thing. Do you really think that the heavenly Tao can be destroyed by your race? Cut off his head and put it at the edge of the immortal world to warn the hidden races in the chaos. Although this battle was short, there were no fewer casualties in the immortal world than in the flame race. At least 10 billion living beings had died. Torrential anger filled the hearts of every participant. It was useless even if the flame race surrendered. The flame race didn't plan to surrender, either. In the distance, Great Loose Heaven said, "Sacred Ancestor, aren't you going to kill him?" His words were agreed by the other pseudo-sages, who did not understand what the 3 pure sacred ancestor was waiting for. The 3 pure sacred ancestor did not answer. He stared calmly at the leader of the flame race. The leader of the flame race smiled sadly. That's right. Come and kill me. Let's see how many pitiful zenith heavens I can drag down with me. After recognizing the reality, the leader of the flame race no longer felt any pressure. The flame race was about to become extinct. In that case, what did he have to worry about? The other flame race mighty figures also revealed determined expressions. There was no change in this battle. In the end, all the flame race members died. The corpse of the leader of the flame race was sealed into a 1,000,000-foot-tall mountain to warn his descendants. On the other side, Hanju was still focused on cursing Undying Tao. His lifespan was quickly deducted by a quadrillion years. Because of your curse, your enemy Undying Dao's Dao heart shattered, and his body was destroyed. Continue. His body and soul had yet to be destroyed. Hanju gritted his teeth and persisted. Another quadrillion years of lifespan was thrown in. Because of your curse, your enemy Undying Dao's soul and cultivation dissipated. The great Dao is filled with pity. Thunderclouds rumbled as if the sky was crying. Chapter 644 Panga's Killing Intent. Chapter 644 Panga's Killing Intent. Hanju felt the phenomenon and couldn't help but be surprised. You, the heavenly Dao, mourn for the enemy. Are you blaming me for saving you? Of course, he only complained a little. The heavenly Dao was a rule and did not have the emotions and desires of living beings. Hanju suddenly thought of something. Undying Dao perished and caused a great Dao phenomenon. The chaotic deity and Kundi who had faked their deaths did not have any great Dao phenomenon. So why did the mighty figures in the deity realm of the ruins of In think that they were dead? Perhaps those mighty figures did not really think so. They only wanted to put blame on the dark forbidden lord? This was the only explanation. Hanju adjusted his state and started to improve his sword Dao mystical powers. Several months later, he continued to cultivate the grand unity aspect. However, just as he began, Ancestor Shitian's voice entered his ears. All the sages have come to the great ultimate hall. I have something to say. Hanju didn't move immediately after hearing that. Ancestor Shitian was stronger than him. Furthermore, he could be active in the heavenly Dao. Hanju wasn't a heavenly Dao sage. If he died in the heavenly Dao, he would really die, and not be revived endlessly by the heavenly Dao. Does Ancestor Shitian have any intention of killing me? 170 billion years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue? The value of the ancestor seemed to have increased. Continue. Not for the time being. Hanju heaved a sigh of relief. That was good. Hanju moved out of the Dao field and arrived outside the 33rd heaven. The great ultimate hall that had been silent for a long time emitted divine light again, becoming the most dazzling Dao field outside the 33rd heaven. Hanju came to the front of the great ultimate hall. The other sages were already there. Even Empress Huda came. Li Daokong sighed. Sect Master, do you still remember how we listened to the Dao together in the great ultimate hall? The sages had strange expressions. It was fine if he didn't mention it, but they felt uncomfortable when he did. They wanted to forget Hanju's potential. Compared to him, they felt so mediocre like mortals. Hanju didn't answer. Was Li Daokong provoking him? Sure Dudao stared at him curiously. He was very curious about the sect master of the hidden sect. For some reason, he inexplicably felt that Hanju was like the dark forbidden lord. At this moment, the door to the great ultimate hall opened, and the sages entered. Ancestor Shitian was sitting on a mat. When the sages came in front of him, he opened his eyes and waved his right hand. A mat appeared behind each sage. The sages meditated. The South Extreme Heavenly Venerate was the first to speak. Ancestor, you're finally back. If not for you, the heavenly Dao would probably be in danger. The other sages also flattered him with some sincerity. Previously, when they saw the flame race attack the immortal world, they were all extremely nervous. After the heavenly Dao restarted, the foundation of the immortal world was still a little lacking. However, there were many living beings, but not enough mighty cultivators. Ancestor Shitian sighed. Before I attacked, misfortune befell Undying Dao. Someone was cursing him. The sages were stunned. Sect Master Tianju narrowed his eyes and said, Dark Forbidden Lord, be it the heavenly Dao or the deity realm of the ruins of End, many people pretended to be the Dark Forbidden Lord and cursed the enemy. However, only the Dark Forbidden Lord's curse could injure a great Dao sage. The sages began to sigh. It's the Dark Forbidden Lord again. In that case, he supports the heavenly Dao. Who is the Dark Forbidden Lord? In the past, I felt that it was fellow Taoist Hanju. Now it seems that it shouldn't be. If fellow Taoist Hanju can kill Undying Dao, he would have directly attacked earlier. Cough cough, fellow Taoist Han is here with us. What nonsense are you saying? Ha ha ha. Perhaps because they had experienced many calamities together. The sages also began to joke about Hanju, as if they were close. Hanju didn't answer but snorted in his mind. It's fine if you want to cause trouble, but don't joke with me. He immediately asked in his mind. Does Ancestor Shitian have any killing intent towards me? 170 billion years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue? Continue. Not for the time being. Hanju secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Ancestor Shitian said, Undying Tao has perished. I previously severely injured him. I didn't expect the Dark Forbidden Lord to still not let him go. This is also good. The deity realm of the ruins of End probably won't come to harm the heavenly Tao for the time being. I have something to announce. I will leave the heavenly Tao. With that said, the sages widened their eyes in shock. They urged him to stay. Ancestor Shitian was their greatest backing. If he left, the deity realm of the ruins of End would definitely become even more rampant. Although Li Daokong, Shi Du Dao, and Fong Liang did not say a word, they didn't want Ancestor Shitian to leave either. Before they attained the Tao, they knew that the one who truly protected the heavenly Tao was not a sage, but Ancestor Shitian, the Tao ancestor's close friend. Ancestor Shitian continued, I've discussed with the great Tao sages in the deity realm of the ruins of End, and decided to go together to suppress the ancient desolate. In the next period of time, the deity realm of the ruins of End should not disturb the heavenly Tao, but you can't let your guard down. There are many races like the flame race hidden in the chaos. Some of them were expelled by the heavenly Tao, and some were born from the creation of mighty figures. In the long years, they have already risen. Because of the existence of the immeasurable calamity, the heavenly Tao's strength has always been restricted. Instead, it has fallen behind the chaos. I don't know why the Tao ancestor set the rules like this, nor can I guess. Hearing this, the sages did not feel good. To be honest, the invasion of the flame race had deeply stimulated them. They even blamed the Tao ancestor. Heavenly Venerate Xiandu asked, What is hidden in the ancient desolate that actually requires the great Tao sages to join forces? Ancestor Shitian said, Panga's killing intent. The sages were stunned. Panga split the world apart, and his body transformed into all things. But his killing intent was not recorded in the legends. Back then, Panga slaughtered 3,000 chaotic fiend celestials to attain the Tao. His killing intent even began to bewitch his Tao heart. He had no choice but to extract his killing intent and suppress it in the heavenly Tao. As time passed, more and more chaotic fiend celestials appeared again and resonated with Panga's killing intent. After undergoing Tao integration, the Tao ancestor had no choice but to suppress Panga's killing intent in the ancient desolate. Once this killing intent appears, it will definitely reproduce the scene of blood cleansing the chaos. Ancestor Shitian sighed, and the sages fell silent. Hanju was deep in thought. Could that supreme power be Panga's killing intent? But after so many years, could Panga's killing intent still continue to become stronger? Logically speaking, if Panga had died, the chaotic fiend celestial that had survived for so long would have long surpassed him. Wait, could Panga be alive? Hanju's heart tightened. He felt that it was very possible. Under normal circumstances, who was willing to sacrifice themselves to create a new world? Anyway, Hanju didn't want to. After the heavenly Tao was established, the mighty figures of the later generations also proved one thing. Creating a world did not necessarily mean sacrificing oneself. For example, Li Muyi and Ancestor Shitian had both created their own little heavenly Tao. Ancestor Shitian suddenly looked at Hanju and said, Hanju, which chaotic fiend celestial are you? The sages also looked at him. Hanju said, Heavenly constellation fiend celestial. In any case, the heavenly constellation fiend celestial had already been born. Ancestor Shitian frowned. The sages were balanced. Since Hanju was really a chaotic fiend celestial, it was normal that they couldn't compare. I know the heavenly constellation fiend celestial. He's still alive. Why is it you? Ancestor Shitian asked again. Chapter 645 Ancestor's Heart. Chapter 645 Ancestors' Heart. The entire Great Ultimate Hall fell silent. The sages waited for Hanju's explanation. Hanju remained silent, but he was panicking on the inside. However, on second thought, something was wrong. He had already created the heavenly constellation Fiend Celestial. If there was another heavenly constellation Fiend Celestial, the two heavenly constellation Fiend Celestials should be able to sense each other. After all, they were both of the same great Tao. This old dog is tricking me? Hanju asked in his mind. Is Ancestor Shitian tricking me? 170 billion years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue? Continue. Yes. Hanju secretly heaved a sigh of relief. He was very dissatisfied with Ancestor Shitian. Why are you tricking me for no reason? Trying to mess with me? I think you're asking for a curse. Seeing that Hanju didn't answer, Ancestor Shitian continued to ask. What? Do you have something you can't say? Hanju pretended to be bitter and said, I don't understand what you mean, Ancestor. I'm the heavenly constellation Fiend Celestial. The heavenly constellation Fiend Celestial is me. There can't be two chaotic Fiend Celestials that are the same. What do you want to say to me, Ancestor? I don't understand how I offended you. I can be said to be diligent in dealing with the heavenly Tao. I interfere every time the heavenly Tao is in trouble. I don't usually rely on the heavenly Tao to cultivate. I have a clear conscience towards the heavenly Tao. If the heavenly Tao doesn't tolerate me, I'll leave. He immediately stood up. The other sages dissuaded him. Fellow Taoist Han, what are you doing? Ancestor doesn't mean that. He's just puzzled. Ancestor, Hanju really sacrificed a lot for the heavenly Tao. During the time you left, if not for him, we would have long collapsed. Yes, so what if Hanju is not the heavenly constellation Fiend Celestial? In any case, he belongs to the heavenly Tao. Sect Master, if you want to leave, I'll leave too. The sages took Hanju's side. The reason was that Ancestor Shitian was about to leave. They could still rely on Hanju. Ancestor Shitian said helplessly, I'm just asking. I don't really know the heavenly constellation Fiend Celestial. Why are you angry, young friend Hanju? Hanju sat down angrily inside. I don't know why. I've always been cultivating in seclusion, but there are always people coming to find trouble with me or question my identity. It might be related to the variable that the Tao Ancestor said. The Tao Ancestor's words have screwed me over. In the past, not only did the heavenly Tao sages try to rope me in, but even the deity realm of the ruins of In's Dijuan, Empress Nuwa. The eyes of the sages flickered. They also remembered the variable that the Tao Ancestor had mentioned, but they didn't expect the deity realm of the ruins of Ind to have also tried to rope Hanju in. Ancestor Shitian was expressionless, but he was also dissatisfied with Dijuan. He didn't expect Dijuan to scheme behind his back. Ancestor Shitian said, Since you are the heavenly constellation Fiend Celestial, I will entrust the heavenly Tao to you. Only you are a freedom sage. I hope that you can protect the heavenly Tao. If I can return alive, I will give you a huge opportunity. Hanju neither agreed nor disagreed. Why was he tricking him for no reason? To put it bluntly, he didn't trust him. He couldn't take Ancestor Shitian's opportunity. Heavenly Venerate Wufa couldn't help but ask, Senior, your cultivation is so high. Are you really going to offer yourself to the ancient desolate? In his opinion, even if Panga's killing intent broke out, Ancestor Shitian could still hide. Back when Pangu attained the Tao, some chaotic Fiend Celestials had survived. Ancestor Shitian glanced at him and said, Destroying Panga's killing intent is not only to protect the heavenly Tao and the chaos, but also to attain the Tao. Whoever can defeat Pangu will inherit his vast providence. I see. The sages were enlightened. In that case they believed him. As sages they knew sages the best. How many sages could risk their lives for the sake of righteousness? Ancestor Shitian continued. Alright, I've already said what needs to be said. I'll leave the heavenly Tao to you in the future. With that said, Ancestor Shitian's figure gradually vanished. He was like a phantom from head to toe. The sages looked at each other. Hanju stood up and prepared to leave. Heavenly Venerate Xiandu stopped him and said, Fellow Taoist Han, come to the Universal Hall. Hanju nodded, and the two sages left. The other sages were not curious. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du often met the sages alone. The sages had also communicated in private. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du had only arranged the matters of the heavenly Tao and did not have any selfish motives. Universal Hall. Han Ju and Heavenly Venerate Xian Du sat down. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du said, Ancestor Shitian is suspicious of you. You have to be careful. Han Ju said, I understand. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du's favorability towards him far exceeded Ancestor Shitian's. Han Ju also had a good impression of him. I called you here this time to talk about the reincarnation space. I've decided to occupy the Earth Immortal World. Next, the reincarnation space will fight against the infinite space with all its might. After expelling the infinite space, I'll let the reincarnation space occupy the Earth Immortal World and personally connect the providence of the Earth Immortal World to the Heavenly Tao to expand it. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du said in a low voice. Seeing that he didn't have to interfere, Han Ju put down his concerns and asked, Are you confident? Don't worry. Now that the mighty figures of the deity realm of the ruins of End can't make a move in time. Zhen Yuanzi has also been invited to the ancient desolate. The mysterious chaotic fiend celestial of the Earth Immortal World and the sage behind the infinite space are not the freedom sages and are not my match. I'm the best choice for this task. After all, my master is still very intimidating. After I leave, fellow Taoist Han, help me keep an eye on Sect Master Tianju. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du continued. Sect Master Tianju? This fellow. Han Ju thought of the heavenly sect master, who was suppressed in the ancient desolate. Could it be that the heavenly sect master was planning on backstabbing him? I'll keep an eye open. Yes, let's talk about the heavenly Tao. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du began to describe his next arrangements for the heavenly Tao. It still had to continue expanding. The flame race had given the sages too much stimulation. The living beings of the entire heavenly Tao were actually unable to defeat the chaotic race. It was simply a great humiliation. The sages would think of a way to increase the spirit qi in the immortal world and constantly teach Tao techniques to increase the strength of all the living beings. However, where the rules of the heavenly Tao were, it was impossible for them to increase without any worries. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du mentioned Feng Liang. The sages were thinking of a way to gather the jade slip of creation for him. Feng Liang said that he had a way to expand the heavenly Tao. 2 hours later, Han Ju had just left the 33rd heaven. He returned to the 100-peak immortal river and sat on the 36th grade reincarnation world destruction Black Lotus. He asked in his mind, Does Sect Master Tianju plan to betray the heavenly Tao? 4 billion years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue? Continue. Yes, Han Ju cursed silently. He was indeed a traitor. In that case, he wouldn't be polite anymore. The next day, Han Ju came to Sect Master Tianju's Tao field. Sect Master Tianju opened a door and smiled at him. Fellow Taoist Han, you are such a rare guest. Is this your first time visiting me? Sect Master Tianju asked with a smile. Han Ju smiled. Yes. I want to invite you to the 100-peak immortal river as a guest. The Jia school has taken good care of the Holy Mother sect. You and I can get closer. The two of them spoke at the entrance of the Tao field. Presumably, the other sages could hear them. Sect Master Tianju smiled even wider. That's a good thing. Han Ju grabbed his wrist affectionately and directly used the power of the imprisonment fiend celestial to immobilize him. The two of them disappeared. At first glance, the two of them seemed to be leaving hand in hand. They were very close. Chapter 646 Ancestor Fanju, Heavenly Tao Taking Sides. Chapter 646 Ancestor Fanju. Heavenly Tao Taking Sides. Han Ju brought Sect Master Tianju directly to his Taoist temple. To prevent him from self-destructing, Han Ju used the power of the confusion fiend celestial to make him in a muddle-headed state and unable to wake up. Han Ju then threw him into the primordial heavenly prison. Unlike the previous heavenly venerate Wufa, Han Ju was far stronger than Sect Master Tianju. Sect Master Tianju couldn't break free from his great Tao power. So Hanju didn't need to look after him. Hanju could finally start cultivating the grand unity aspect. In the blink of an eye, 300 years passed. Hanju had newly learned 50 chaotic fiend celestial dharma idols. It took longer than before, mainly because the power of the fiend celestials conflicted with each other. The new fiend celestial dharma idols were respectively the sheltered rainbow fiend celestial, the little fiend celestial, the uninjured fiend celestial, the heavenly square fiend celestial, the intentless fiend celestial, the soul sovereign fiend celestial, the poverty fiend celestial, the Tao gathering fiend celestial, the fog fiend celestial, the terror fiend celestial, the great affection fiend celestial, the great essence fiend celestial, the twisted fiend celestial, the eternal night fiend celestial, the primordial martial fiend celestial, the race fiend celestial, the degree fiend celestial, the avatar fiend celestial, the ultimate sorrow fiend celestial, the spirit ruler fiend celestial, the soul firmament fiend celestial, the connate loose fiend celestial, the rotten fiend celestial, the mutual longing fiend celestial, the skeleton bone fiend celestial, the golden tablet fiend celestial, and the ethereal fiend celestial, the 10,000 creation fiend celestial, the voidless fiend celestial, the strongest fiend celestial, the cloud pool fiend celestial, the supreme height fiend celestial, the shadow follower fiend celestial, the punishment tea fiend celestial, the combat prison fiend celestial, the reflection fiend celestial, the light slaughter fiend celestial, the repentance chaos fiend celestial, the blade fiend celestial, the origin substance fiend celestial, the steps Tao fiend celestial, the loose gatherer fiend celestial, the calamity card fiend celestial, the one book fiend celestial, the control fiend celestial, the drought fiend celestial, the revolving world fiend celestial, the bitterness fiend celestial, the missing fiend celestial, and the billion finger fiend celestial. Most of these fiend celestial powers were a little special. For example, the strongest fiend celestial was not the strongest fiend celestial. This was a power that pursued the strongest great Tao. Once used, one's strength would increase greatly, and one would be instilled with the belief to pursue being the strongest. The stronger the opponent defeated, the stronger the great Tao power. To Hanju, this was not very good. He would easily lose his mind. He wouldn't use it unless he was desperate. The uninjured fiend celestial was an absolutely defensive great Tao that couldn't be harmed. It needed an even stronger great Tao power to kill it in one strike. The ultimate sorrow fiend celestial had an extremely strong emotional resonance. It could absorb the sorrow of all living beings to make itself stronger. The loose gatherer fiend celestial could condense all true existences and also disband them into extremely tiny fragments. The 10,000 creation fiend celestial was like the Fusang tree. Its body grew 10,000 branches that could create a world and connect to an existing world. As long as the world he created existed, he wouldn't die. Wait. Hanju began the simulation trial and adapted to the new power of the fiend celestials. After 10 years, he finally ended in satisfaction. At this moment, Sect Master Tianju was still in the primordial heavenly prison. Hanju looked at the immortal world. After the flame race failed, the immortal world returned to its previous state. Although all living beings cultivated harder, conflicts couldn't be avoided. For example, if the human race wanted to rise, they needed to expand their territory and increase their resources. However, the nearby races were all once demons. The blood feud between humans and demons was engraved in their blood. Therefore, the human race was surrounded and fell into deep trouble again. Li Daokong was still not powerful enough. After the flame race's calamity, all living beings understood one thing. Sages couldn't personally interfere in the immortal world. This fact subconsciously reduced their threat. Furthermore, with the various races joining forces, sages couldn't send mighty figures to capture them all in one go for the sake of the humans. It was not in line with the cultivation goal of the current heavenly Tao. Because of this, Hanyu fell into various battles. His cultivation level increased very quickly. Hanju didn't pay attention to the humans for too long. It was fine as long as Hanyu was fine. If Hanyu could lead the human race to prosperity, Hanju would change his opinion of him. He might even give him a huge opportunity to have the right to chase after his ancestor Han Tua. Han Ju looked at the Holy Mother sect next. It had developed very well. He didn't know if it was because of Li Yao, but the number of female human disciples in the Holy Mother sect increased, and had already surpassed the female disciples of other races. Ever since the establishment of the Holy Mother sect, they had been backed by the Jie school, and had never encountered any trouble. Previously, when the Flame race attacked, the battle had already ended when they had just arrived on the battlefield. Hanju looked at the reroll world below the immortal world. Ever since he had released the reroll world, it had developed alone. Now it was only inferior to the first mortal world, the loose heaven world, and had become the second mortal world. Although Hanju didn't care about the reroll world, the heavenly race, the Jie school, the divine palace, and the Holy Mother sect all helped it. They even sent disciples to stay and preach the Tao to mortals. The current white-robed Buddha had used the providence of the reroll world to become a zenith heaven cultivator. He was also a famous figure. In the netherworld, Su Qi had been cultivating in seclusion, but because of him, Yang Tiandong's status rose. The other kings of hell did not dare to offend him, and followed him everywhere. Everything was fine. Hanju suddenly noticed someone, an old friend. Emoju. Back then, Li Muyi took in Emoju as his disciple, and wanted to scheme against Hanju. However, before Li Muyi died, she had already returned to the immortal world. As time passed, she and Hanju had long become strangers. He usually couldn't remember her. After all, Hanju had asked Emoju to stay. She insisted on leaving, and wanted to make the Emo family famous. Time passed quickly. Emo Fujo had died, and the Emo family was already in the past. The current Emoju had already changed her name. Her name was Ancestor Fanju, and she was hidden in a corner of the immortal world. This name was clearly derived from Hanju's. Emoju was already at the deity realm, all thanks to the human school's Tao technique. Seeing Emoju, Hanju couldn't help but recall the years in the mortal world. He sighed. Not long ago, he was still looking forward to the immortal realm. Hanju didn't look for Emoju. She had already grown up and could protect herself. If she wanted to find him, she could just come to the hidden sect. Hanju had calculated that Emoju had met Zhou Fan. Zhou Fan didn't hide Hanju's whereabouts, but Emoju never returned. Why didn't she return? She probably felt that she was unqualified. Everyone had their own ambitions. Be it Hanju or Emoju, they wouldn't risk their lives for the so-called love. Hanju sighed and entered cultivation again. 500 years later, Primordial Heavenly Prison has successfully enslaved the target. Sect Master Tianju has a favorable impression of you. Current favorability, max. Hanju immediately checked Sect Master Tianju's profile picture from his interpersonal relationships. Sect Master Tianju. Late-stage Heavenly Tao Sage. Sect Master of Jie School, Immeasurable Emperor. His favorability towards you is at the maximum. Sect Master Tianju, who was meditating, opened his eyes and knelt down. Hanju smiled. There's no need to be so polite. Our relationship will still be the same in the future, at least on the surface. Go back. If others ask, you know what to do. Sect Master Tianju said respectfully. I understand. Hanju waved his hand and sent him to the 33rd heaven. Sect Master Tianju followed his memories and came to his Tao field. At this moment, the South Extreme Heavenly Venerate appeared and followed him into the hall. After the door closed, the South Extreme Heavenly Venerate asked curiously, Why was Hanju looking for you? Sect Master Tianju replied, We chatted about the relationship between the Holy Mother sect and the Jie school. It can be considered an alliance. The South Extreme Heavenly Venerate clicked his tongue in wonder. That works too. It seems that the Chan school should also establish a relationship with the Holy Mother sect. Sure, the Heavenly Tao will take sides sooner or later. We have already severed ties with the deity realm of the ruins of End. Why don't you make an alliance with fellow Taoist Han? That's true. Tianju, I believe you. I'll go prepare now. Chapter 647 Hidden Punishment Lineage, Nether Race's Predicament. Chapter 647 Hidden Punishment Lineage. Nether Race's Predicament. After releasing Sect Master Tianju, Hanju immersed himself in cultivation. Time passed. 1,000 years passed. Hanju opened his eyes and checked his emails. During this period of time, Heavenly Venerate Xiandu left. He wanted to control the Earth immortal world and expand the providence of the Heavenly Tao. Ancestor Shitian also began to be active in the emails. He was basically attacked, but he was not severely injured for the time being. After looking around, the immortal world was safer than the chaos. The evil Heavenly Emperor and Han Tua had been fighting almost the entire time. It was unknown who they were fighting with. After reading the emails, Hanju teleported to the second Tao field. Sweeping his sage sense out and observing the entire Earth immortal world, he caught Heavenly Venerate Xiandu's aura at the edge of the Earth immortal world. Although the Earth immortal world was already considered a little Heavenly Tao, its self-protection ability was far inferior to the Heavenly Tao. Heavenly Venerate Xiandu could come and go as he pleased, and the Earth immortal world couldn't expel or resist him. Heavenly Venerate Xiandu was casting a spell to gather the providence of the immortal world. Hanju didn't care. He looked at the Fiend Celestial candidates he had chosen. Yangdu Rengang and Yin Hongqian were still alive. As for the other Fiend Celestial candidates, they had long perished. Among them, Yangdu's cultivation was already infinitely close to the Emperor realm. Hanju discovered that there was some great Tao power hidden in Yangdu's body. This aura was extremely obvious to him, who had grasped the grand unity aspect. Hanju pinched his fingers to deduce, then his expression became strange. He had deduced that Yangdu had gone to the infinite space to be a spy and become the top batch of reincarnators. He had obtained the lecture of the sages behind the infinite space and had actually successfully comprehended a trace of the power of the great Tao. In the past 1,000 years, the reincarnation space had already expelled the infinite space from the Earth immortal world. Heavenly Venerate Xiandu had personally found that sage. After the two sages fought, that sage compromised and gave up the Earth immortal world. Not only that, but the top batch of reincarnators in the infinite space had also been forced to stay. It could be said that they had suffered heavy losses. Hanju thought for a moment and sent a dream to Yangdu in the dream. Yangdu was immediately excited when he saw Hanju, who was covered in divine light. He had already seen a sage, but that sage was completely incomparable to Hanju. This aura was unforgettable for him. He could tell at a glance. "Greetings, senior." Yangdu knelt down and said excitedly, "If not for Hanju, he wouldn't be where he was today." Hanju said, "I've seen your growth. I'll give you two choices next. 1. Follow me immediately to my Tao field to cultivate. 2. Continue to stay in the Earth immortal world and spend the rest of your life in peace. I'll look for you in 100 million years." Hearing this, Yangdu took a deep breath and said firmly, "I'll go with you." He had enjoyed everything in the Earth immortal world. Ever since he had joined the infinite space, what he yearned for the most was cultivation. He wanted to become stronger. He wanted to be so powerful that he would no longer be subservient and be controlled by others. Hanju was very satisfied with his determination. "If you follow me, you might have to cultivate diligently for a long time, even until the Earth immortal world is destroyed naturally. Are you willing?" Yangdu was stunned. Hanju's words shocked him. At the same time, he understood something else. He could live longer than the Earth immortal world. "I'm willing," Yangdu hurriedly said. Hanju didn't say anything else. He directly broke through the dream and sucked Yangdu into the second Tao field. Landing in front of him, Yangdu was shocked. Hanju began to use absolute purification on him, just in case Yangdu came back to his senses, and hurriedly knelt down. Hanju didn't say anything else. As he waited for the system to purify him, he let the great Tao of extreme origin cover Yangdu's soul, allowing him to quickly enter a state of Tao comprehension and walk the path of cultivation of the great Tao of extreme origin. As for Rengang and Yin Hongqian, they still had to train. Anyway, Hanju didn't want to create chaotic fiend celestials one after another. If Yangdu wanted to fuse with the fiend celestial qi, his soul strength had to increase. Next, Hanju planned to make him stay in the second Dao field to cultivate. 10 years later, Yangdu walked out of the Taoist temple. He looked around curiously and quickly saw Morongqi, the heavenly constellation Fiend Celestial, the Crimson Fox and Dong Zhua. He was secretly shocked. These 4 people were unfathomable. He had never felt such fear. At this moment, Morongqi opened his eyes and waved at him. Although they were very far apart, Yangdu could see his actions and immediately rushed over. Hanju had already introduced him to the others. He would cultivate in peace and be polite to them. Arriving in front of Morongqi, Yangdu cupped his fists respectfully and introduced himself. Morongqi said, "I'm Morongqi. Your cultivation level is so low, but you can still become a chaotic fiend celestial? Where are you from?" Chaotic fiend celestial? Yangdu was surprised. What was that? He didn't dare to hide anything, and told him everything Morongqi had heard of the Earth Immortal world. As for the reincarnation space, he had never heard of it. I didn't expect Grandmaster's control to reach so far. He's not as secluded as he looks. Morongqi sighed. Hanju looked like he was not fighting for providence, but he was actually secretly nurturing powerful forces with a heart as deep as the sea. Morongqi was not disgusted. Instead, he felt safer. Only by following such a grandmaster could everything go smoothly. On the contrary, he only had a powerful cultivation level but no shrewdness. He would suffer sooner or later. Morongqi chatted with Yang, due to get closer. Meanwhile, Hanju returned to the main Dao field. Li Xian'ao was kneeling at the entrance of the Taoist temple. Hanju let him in. Arriving in front of him, Li Xian'ao bowed respectfully and said, "All these years, the disciples of the hidden sect who went out have returned one after another. All the personal disciples have returned. Among the unnamed disciples, 8,736 have yet to return. I've already informed them one by one, but they still haven't returned. I think we can announce that they have betrayed the hidden sect, and also set up a special hidden sect law enforcement hall to capture these disobedient disciples. Although the hidden sect is a land of cultivation, rules are still necessary." Hanju said, "The law enforcement hall will be controlled by Zhou Mingyue. You will help him create it. The number of people will be fixed at 10,000. They must be at the deity realm. You can let the nether race also send a portion of their clansmen." Understood. Li Xian'ao nodded. He was not disappointed. He was already the second guardian, and couldn't control more power. Otherwise, people in the hidden sect would definitely gossip. Zhou Mingyue was the reincarnation of the previous great sage equaling heaven, who had once wreaked havoc in the heavenly court. Now he had become the disciple of the Supreme Buddha, Chu Shuren. He was considered a direct descendant of Hanju, and his cultivation was also attempting to break through to the Zenith Heaven realm. As the master of the law enforcement hall, he would definitely receive the help of his personal disciples. Law enforcement hall is too vulgar. Let it be the hidden punishment lineage. Hanju thought for a moment and spoke again. Li Xian'ao naturally had no objections. Soon he left. Hanju looked at the nether race in the 100-peak Immortal River. The 10,000 nether race members had all returned. However, the nether race had currently encountered a bottleneck. All the clansmen were stuck at the 6 mystic divine origin realm, and could not break through. It was as if a force was suppressing their cultivation realms. Hanju had been busy cultivating, and didn't want the nether race to break through too quickly, so he didn't care. However, after so many years, the nether race couldn't hold back anymore, and the atmosphere in the clan was a little solemn. Hanju had no choice but to use the derivation function. I want to know why the nether race can't reach the Zenith Heaven realm. 150 billion years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue? The value of a great Tao sage. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.